Welcome to the Crowd Meadow Stadium, home of Shrewsbury Town FC, where we are gearing up for an international friendly, a women's under-23s fixture between England and the Netherlands. And not only is this the first chance for England fans to see their team on home soil in 2026, it is also the first home game for England interim manager Lauren Smith. Now, the atmosphere is building up nicely, so let's see what we have in store for us tonight. Yes, we absolutely cannot wait for this game. As I mentioned, the fans are taking their place in the stands, and I'm so pleased to be here pitchside with all of you tonight. I am, of course, joined by Leanne Sanderson, one of our commentary team tonight. Leanne, how excited are you for this game?
Yeah, Vishali, I'm so excited to be here. I played at Shrewsbury Town back in the day for England under 17s, and, you know, opportunity for the Lionesses, Young Lionesses, to come out again tonight and get a result. In the new situation under Lauren Smith, you know, they got a fantastic result against France the other night, and, you know, the fans are coming. It's a fantastic pictures, like a carpet, to be honest.
It looks amazing.
It's incredible. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the game.
Yeah, you mentioned that win over France. The under-23s were in action just 4 days ago. They went to Clairefontaine and beat France 1-0. So 2 games this week. That was a big result for them, wasn't it?
Massive result. Like, my first ever camp with England was actually at Clairefontaine, and it's a really intimidating place to go to. So the fact that Lauren Smith, you know, took her players and they got that 1-0 win against a really good France side was incredible, and hopefully they could do this. Opposition they're playing against for Charlie are really difficult. You know, France, the Netherlands, like, it's a top opposition. So I love this team. I think there's a lot of really young prospects amongst this team as well that we'll talk about. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, the women's under-23s have had a few up and down results this season, I think it's fair to say. How do you assess their level?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult in the under-23s. It's a good problem to have, but you've got a lot of players, you know, making that jump up to the first team, like a Freya Godfrey. Then you've got Kiara Keita coming back to this team, and the pathway is clearly there. You know, I love the fact Lauren Smith has been part of the under-19 setup, under-20 setup, and she knows what the Lionesses is needed, because these players want to make that jump to the first team. And as we've seen, Serena Wiegman will give the players the opportunity to do that. So the results, you know, against Portugal, I think other nations are getting better as well, Bishali, no doubt in that. The win against Norway, losing to the United States of America, they're not an easy feat, they're a difficult side. But I think beating France the other night will give this team a lot of confidence, because there's a lot of really good players on this team, but not a lot of them play for their club teams because they're on fantastic squads, like an Arsenal or a Chelsea. They go out on loan and then they play minimal minutes and have to come and expect to play at the international level. So it's a difficult space to be in sometimes for a player that doesn't play a lot for their club. But these players, there's a lot of talented players in this team, Vishali, that I'm so excited to see play tonight.
Yeah, we absolutely cannot wait to see them play as well. Now, you mentioned Lauren Smith, you know, being in charge of the under-19s. She will be in charge of the under-20s at the under-20s World Cup later on this year. So this is a big step up for her, isn't it?
It is, but she can do it. I mean, I remember when she was at Bristol City when they come up to the WSL, and it was difficult for them because they didn't invest a lot within the team, and it's difficult to stay in the league. But I think, you know, with regards to the pathway, she knows the system. Yes, she's interim, but at the same time, you know, if she does a good job, that's in the back of your mind. You know, she loves it. Like, you interviewed her earlier, you know, she loves being here, but she knows the system. She knows exactly what's expected to be an England player, you know, being in the younger age group. And you have to have that familiarity, you know, within the team, because the step up, it doesn't become unnecessary territory. You know what to do when you make that jump up to the first team. You've already done it at under 23s. Yeah. Yes, there's more pressure, but at the same time, the system is the same. You know, your expectation is the same. To be part of this team is incredible.
Now, I'm so glad that you mentioned my interview with Lauren Smith earlier. Here's her thoughts on this game tonight.
Well, it's been a brilliant experience, something that has really shone a light on the pathway as well. So being able to step in with the 23s, to see the vibe, the energy and the togetherness they've got has been brilliant, but the standards in training and obviously the win against France really makes it.
It was a hard-fought but solid win against France. What kind of aspects from that game do you want to see replicated here tonight?
I think we got into a good rhythm in that game, but I still think there's more to come, and we've seen it in training leading into this game, that when we're composed, we've got excellent quality on the ball, and there's some brilliant players in this team. So I think that was a really good warm-up match, and we got the win, and I think that there's going to be more from the girls tonight.
Of course, you do play the Netherlands in the semi-finals of the European competition next month. So this, I imagine, is a big, chance to show what the players can do, and perhaps to impress you as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great chance to play someone before in a friendly that you're going to play in a high-stakes game. So Obviously, the two teams are going to be trying to suss each other out a little bit. I'm sure there'll be something they keep back. But ultimately, if you put a win in tonight or a good performance, that puts a little doubt in the opposition's mind for when we get through to April and go again.
Now, Leanne, you could just see the big smile on Lauren Smith's face when she was doing that interview. She looks like she's really excited for this test tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, they had a major test the other night against France. They overcome that with the 1-0 and obviously a clean sheet as well. But I think, you know, it's a massive opportunity to manage your country. Like, what an honour. And I have no doubt she'll step up, and she has done.
Yeah, absolutely. And any players that fans should be watching out for tonight?
Yeah, I mean, this talented team like Lena Gunning-Williams is getting a start.
Yeah.
Lexi Potter, I love Lexi Potter. You know, fantastic player. Sari will be coming off the bench as well. So they've got a lot of really talented players within this England side for sure that could play on most national teams, you know, and they definitely have the quality. Lexi Potter's one of the best young players around, definitely, and she's getting the opportunity to play. And I think one day she'll be the next England captain, genuinely.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned those players coming in, 3 changes for England tonight. Leanne, I'm going to let you get off because you have to go up to the gantry now for the commentary duties that you're on tonight. But yeah, as I mentioned, look, the atmosphere is building up really nicely here. The fans are in the stands. We are gearing up for a 7 o'clock kickoff tonight. And one thing I should mention, and it is really important, the fact that England will be wearing black armbands tonight in honour of Linda Hale, you know, one of the original Lionesses and trailblazers of the women's side. She, of course, sadly passed away earlier this week. So the team will be wearing black armbands to remember her. And, of course, we send out our tributes to her and her family. We'll also have a period of applause before this game tonight, and there will be a really important anti-racism message ahead of kickoff as well. The England and the Netherlands will be linking their arms around the centre circle to show their solidarity and to send out the strong message that, look, racism will not be tolerated in football or in society. So that's what's going to be happening pre-match. As I mentioned, look, it's a really lovely atmosphere. The music is blaring. There are lots of fans filling into the stands as well. So I think we can expect a really good atmosphere here tonight as the team as the fans get to watch the under-23s in action for the first time on home soil in 2020 and 2026. And they also get to see what Lauren Smith's team is all about. Of course, they beat France, didn't they? 1-0 just 4 days ago at Clairefontaine. So a big win for the under-23s. But with some changes to the starting 11 here tonight, I think it's going to be interesting for fans to see what those players, the likes of Lena Gunning-Williams, can do for this side. And I'm sure from the players' point of view, they'll be hoping to impress the England interim manager as well. So we are looking forward to this one. England against the Netherlands in this international friendly. I'm going to throw over to our commentary team of Michael McCann and Leanne Sanderson.
Thank you very much to Vaishali Balraj for her fine work pre-match. A warm welcome to Shrewsbury, but not that warm. It's 5 degrees here, dropping by the end of this one to around 3 degrees, chucking a little bit of wind chill as well. And that is all part of the fun of the fair. The teams are in the tunnel, a bit of a dress rehearsal ahead of what will be a semi-final in the Women's Under-23 European Championship in April in Spain, with, as Lauren Smith referred to, both sides slightly using this as an opportunity to suss each other out. Alongside me is someone who I certainly don't have to suss out, someone who I've had the great pleasure of working with plenty of time over the years. Who was hot-footed her way up to the gantry. A very good evening to a Lionesses legend in Leanne Sanderson.
Evening, Michael. I've still got a little bit of pace about me. I got up here and I'm not out of breath. So, yeah, really looking forward to this one. You know, it's a really good crowd that have come out. I've mentioned before with Vaishali, I played here a number of times, and, you know, it's a fantastic place to come. And when I did the game in October at Northampton, it was a fantastic game as well, Portugal game. And I'm looking forward to Lauren Smith's team, you know, after that win against France in a clean sheet. This is a massive test.
Yeah, it's a really good opportunity for England to lay a marker down ahead of that semi-final in April. For those thinking, what exactly is that a semi-final win? It's a relatively newly created competition, the Women's Under-23s European Championship. Germany are the holders after the first edition of it, which ran through 2024 to 25 season. England now in this season's competition topped Group A. The Dutch finished second in Group B, and that is why they will meet in Spain. All of the teams involved in the competition will be in Spain. other teams that didn't reach the semi-finals will be playing for ranking positions, but it is England and the Netherlands who are two of the sides in contention to go on and win it. And of course, there's also the subplot of both of these sides and their players looking to impress their national team coaches, Sarina Wiegman of England and Arjen Verink of the Netherlands. Verink, who of course was in the backroom staff and a big part of that England 2022 European Championship winning campaign, but last year moved on to coaching the Netherlands. So there's no shortage of connections between these two camps. Both sets of players looking to lay down a marker as they try and put themselves in senior contention. And good performances on nights like this can definitely catch the big head coach's attention. Of course, Lauren Smith temporarily in charge at this level with the change of things and the departure to BFC of your previous head coach, which has led to something of a reshuffle with Emma Coates moving on. But actually, there is also the wider situation of wanting to impress Sarina Wiegman.
Definitely, and I think as we've seen, Sarina Wiegman will call players up. You know, Freya Godfrey could potentially play in at the weekend coming off the bench. We'll have to wait and see against Iceland. But Sarina Wiegman watches these games, and I mentioned it before, I love the fact that Lauren Smith is part of the system. You know, I think what's been great as well, Michael, is the fact that someone like Anita Asante's been part of this coaching staff, Izzy Christensen's part of this coaching staff, and I think it works to have players that have played the game also in and around that know what it means to play for the Lionesses.
Yeah, Anita Asante was the secondary assistant coach of this team for the past 2 seasons. Izzy Christensen has taken on that role this season. Christensen, who is combining that with her role at Manchester City as the under-21s head coach. Christensen, legacy number 189. And speaking of legacy numbers, Linda Hale, cap number 7, a Lionesses legend, part of the first ever Lionesses 11. On the 18th of November 1972, she scored in England's first international match in a 3-2 away win against Scotland at Ravenscraig Stadium in Greenock. 40 years later, of course, the Lionesses won the Euros, and here are some future Lionesses, and some, of course, that have already got their caps at senior level. There are 3 changes to the England side from the team that on Monday won 1-0 away against France to help continue their good form in sealing that semi-final spot. Maisie Simons captains the under-23s for the first time, and there are 3 alterations with Lexi Potter, Jess Simpson and Lena Gunning-Williams coming in. It's Gunning-Williams' first ever start at under-23s level. She made her debut at this ground for the under-23s almost a year and a half ago. Ruby Mace, Chloe Sawi and Lexi Lloyd-Smith, the 3 to drop out.
Yeah, I think these changes do definitely make sense. I mean, Lexi Potter is a player that I've had my eye on for a number of years now. You know, massive player. Went out on loan to Crystal Palace from Chelsea, is back at Chelsea now. And, you know, a lot of these young Lionesses have had a lot of experience, whether it be going out on loan, whether it be, you know, there's players on the bench like Ruby Mace, I think is a fantastic player as well. Keris Brown, Sari's been brilliant this year. You know, made her debut for Chelsea in the Champions League when she was 16. So there's an abundance of talent in this team, Michael, and I understand the changes that have been made by Lauren Smith after that fantastic win against France.
Unlike England, though, the Netherlands are unchanged after beating Scotland on Monday, looking to continue their winning ways. As we look at that Dutch 11, who we expect to be in a variation of a 4-3-3 shape, but Danique Norman will push on a little further from midfield. And the player that English fans are probably the most familiar with is the Dutch captain, Rosa van Holt. Here come the teams then. England versus Netherlands at women's under-23 international level. A friendly match tonight, but something of a dress rehearsal ahead of a European semi-final between these two in Spain in April. England will want to lay a marker down and make it 2 wins from 2 this week, but the Dutch will be confident after victory on Monday. It's time now for the 2 national anthems. the national anthem of the Netherlands, Het Wilhelmus, and now God Save the King. National anthems complete, a proud moment for not just the players but also interim under-23s head coach Lauren Smith, stepping up to this level after the departure of Emma Coates in December of last year for the NWSL side BFC, and a chance for England to lay a marker down ahead of that semi-final against these very opponents in April and June. But before we get to the action, something incredibly important that has happened in recent times: the passing of Linda Hale, who sadly died last Thursday, having just turned 72 years old. Southampton and Lionesses legend in every sense of the word. This is someone who won the FA Cup 7 times, was a key part of a team that dominated women's football in the 1970s. She scored in 2 finals in 1973 and 1975, and she scored in England's first ever international match in 1972, a 3-2 win against Scotland. So more than right that her passing will be marked by a minute's applause of respect.
Absolutely. I mean, my thoughts go out to her friends, family and her former teammates, you know, legacy number 7. And, you know, we talk about players, you know, leaving their mark on the women's game. She certainly left her mark.
Yeah, I've spoken to a few people that had the pleasure of being in the era where she was around, but it certainly was a pleasure. It wasn't a pleasure if you had to play against her. And she's the kind of player who, as one of her old teammates told me, if she was around in this era, she'd have earned millions. She was lighting up women's football in the 1970s. So both teams will gather in the centre circle, and England are wearing black armbands in honour of Hale, who sadly passed last Thursday. Be a minute's applause, and then an anti-racism message as well, linking arms around the centre circle in a show of solidarity to show that there is no room for racism in football.
The starting election of England will now link arms around the centre circle in a show of solidarity to show there is absolutely no room for racism in football. This dance will start and on the referee's whistle.
Football is a game for all of us, regardless of your identity, and the beauty of sport is how it can bring people together, Leanne Sanderson.
Absolutely, and I think that was a really nice touch. Not something I've seen many times in football, but I think it was a lovely touch. They can all link arms, and, you know, sometimes you're playing sometimes for more than just football.
And once again, our deepest commiserations and condolences go out to all who had the pleasure of knowing Linda Hale, Lionesses legend, and I'm sure that might be a tiny bit of extra motivation and fuel in the fire of these England players. They'll be kicking from right to left as we look at things in this first half in predominantly the white, with those little shades of patches of blue and red, and the Dutch, as you would expect, attacking from left to right in all orange. Both sides with a win on Monday. What will Friday night bring? Final checks from referee Sophie Dennington, assisted by Ruby Sykes and Ella Broad. Off and underway here in Shrewsbury for this women's under-23s friendly. England looking to build on an excellent 1-0 away win against France in Clairefontaine on Monday, thanks to a winner from Lexi Lloyd-Smith just before half-time. The Dutch winners against Scotland, and these two teams will meet in the second edition of the Women's Under-23 European Championship in a semi-final in Spain in April. So there's an element of both sides having a look at what they might get when facing each other more competitively in a month. And it's also, of course, a chance for many of these young players, most of whom are uncapped at senior level, to impress their head coaches, the Suns.
Yeah, definitely. It's a massive opportunity in front of them. You know, it's quite a unique situation playing on a Monday night, then playing again, you know, tonight. And I think the fact they come up against each other very soon, Michael, you know, these games, they're different every single time. When you represent your country, it's the biggest honour, like I say, and it's really difficult when you're playing in these games. Like, it's a massive night for a player like Lenagon Williams. It's a massive night for someone like a Goodwin, because I like her a lot. At London City Lionesses last year, top goal scorer, you know, in the WSL too, and she's made that jump up to the WSL, and I think she's done really well in a really good side as well.
Interesting to see how both teams match up tactically as well. Both are playing a version of a 4-3-3, and that tends to be the plan A as such. And Goodwin, as she was trying to do there, will look to be the focal point, almost in some ways a bit of an old school number 9 that England link things around.
Definitely, and I think it's easy to look at her height to think that's what she'll be, but I think she is that old school centre forward. She makes runs in behind, she makes really good runs in behind, she can work the channel, and I think those spaces underneath will also become available to a Parkinson or a Klinger in certain areas.
Potter is pressed, and that puts England under a bit of pressure. Maisie Simons is in there to mop up. Simons, someone who has an almost astonishing amount of experience for someone who's still playing at under-23s level. You mentioned Gunning Williams. There's 3 changes for those who are a little bit late to our coverage from the side that beat France on Monday. Lexi Potter, Jess Simpson and Gunning Williams coming in. Ruby Mace, Hosawi and the goal scorer on Monday, Lexi Lloyd-Smith, the free to make way onto the bench.
There's certain moments as well, Mike, that happen where obviously Lena Gunner-Williams made her debut here, you know, about a year and a half ago, and then playing here, getting the start tonight will be massive for her. Definitely a really good player. Hasn't played a lot at Spurs, but that's due to the fact they're doing so well. Martin Ho's done an incredible job with that team this year. He's done a brilliant job. So yeah, she's got opportunities mostly from the bench, but I like her a lot. She's very dynamic, she's got great movement, and in front of goal, you know, I'd fancy her chances as well.
Nice pace and possession from the Dutch early on, but England won't necessarily mind in the sense that they're relatively secure in their low block for now, but now the Dutch looking to penetrate a bit more, but Nordman, who'd got into quite a nice pocket of space there, couldn't bring it under control.
Yeah, they will cause a lot of problems. I mean, historically, the Dutch team do play 4-3-3. They're very dynamic. They like to get down the wings and they like to deliver the ball on the run. So they'd have to make sure the back line for England will have to be switched on. You know, the first 5-10 minutes of any international, it's a little bit tense. There's a lot of tension, you know, because you're trying to figure each other out. I think after the first 15-20 minutes or so, we'll start to see the style of play.
Keating, one of the players on the park tonight who has already got a senior cap, has found playing time a little hard to come by at Manchester City with the presence of a certain pretty astonishingly good goalkeeper in the form of Ayaka Yamashita. England trying to play their way out from the high press. Thrown one by Eleanor Klinger, who is a relatively new member of this England under-23 squad. Got something of a late notice call-up and then has had 2 starts in a week in the 2 respective coaching boxes. Lauren Smith stepping up to under-23s level for now, and Olivia Emmerlink leading the Netherlands. It's an opportunity for Smith as well, because it certainly doesn't harm your chances as an interim when you come in and get 2 wins in a week.
No, and I think with England and the pathway and the system, you ultimately would like someone that's already in the system. Now, Emma Coates has gone over to be AFC's coach in the NWSL, an opportunity she couldn't turn down. Obviously, she wants to manage at club level, but I do think it's an opportunity for Lauren Smith. I remember when she was at Bristol City, difficult coming into the league with not much investment.
Goodwin fighting for it up there in that almost old school number 9 role that we mentioned. She's having a big old battle with Weefkind, and it's 1-0 to Linda Weefkind for now, but you sense that will be one to keep an eye on tonight. Weefkind someone who has picked up a lot of really valuable experience with Oud-Heverlee Leuven, including plenty on what's been a bit of an epic Champions League run for them this season that eventually came to an end against Arsenal in the playoffs. But to even get to that point was massive for Belgian football.
Absolutely, I did both those legs as well, and the journey they've been on has been incredible. I mean, I know they lost over the 2 legs, but I think they've really put them on the map. Nobody had OH Leuven going through to the next round, and unfortunately they came against one of the best teams in the world in Arsenal, and they still scored though. You know, you have to celebrate the small victories.
Well won by Meg Parkinson to take it off Van Koppen just as she'd looked like breaking through, and that has gone out, so all's well that ends well for Klinger. A name that, compared to a lot of other names in this squad that have played the most of their, particularly in the England squad, that have played in the WSL, played in WSL2, might be a little bit less familiar to some England fans watching at Eleanor Klinger. She actually played, interestingly, in the younger age groups for the USA, but she was born in London, grew up in Ohio, and is at Stanford University in California, in the system over there that has produced so many good players over the years. As England play their way out of the press quite well, that was good feet from Simons to keep possession. Both teams just slightly feeling each other out.
Yeah, it's interesting as well because you mentioned Chiara Keating before, and I do feel for Chiara because she's a top goalkeeper, but obviously Yamashita's having a fantastic season, and then as we've seen, you know, Ellie Roebuck's been called into the first team, so I've no doubt Chiara will be back there at some point, but it might be difficult for her to really get in this City side.
Good distribution from Keating, and that finds Klinger, and now England have the ball in a better part of the field, but that pass was just a little bit short from Erica Meg Parkinson. And there's defending to do for Collette. He's done it well, and now can try and launch Gunning-Williams down that right touchline with options in the box, and Gunning-Williams has got past her marker. Just a little bit too much on the touch, but even in moments like that, movement like that, you see why so many people are so excited about Lena Gunning-Williams.
That was actually a foul, in my opinion. I don't think players should have to go down. I mean, there was definitely contact. You could see Lena Gunning-Williams was kind of looking at the referee. Take another look if we can, but like you could see she was looking as if to say it was a foul. Unbelievable pace. You know, there is contact there. She could have gone down. Very honest. Turns to the referee. I think it was a foul, but that just goes to show you, like, Lena Gunning-Williams 1v1. The Netherlands will not be looking to have that happen because she's so dangerous.
Someone very proud of her roots, born in Enfield and has come through the academy at Spurs since she was 7 years old. Might be a chance on the break. Suddenly it opens up for Nordmann, who's got at least a couple of crossing options in the box. Tanik Nordmann sets it back for Rijsbergen. Tolhoek. Now Groenewegen just tickles it on. Thought of crossing. 5 in the box for the Netherlands here. Maybe just guilty of slightly overplaying, but as it is, it's a decent recovery challenge. The pressure is still on England.
Yeah, good play from Lexi Potter on a recovery, but I'd like to see Nordmann there be a little bit more direct. They did really well, the Netherlands, to break out down that left-hand side. Nordmann was almost, could have taken a touch towards goal, tucks it back inside and ends up going backwards.
Trains with the throw. Tolhoek. Now the cross does come in, and it's a poor one. It gives England a little bit of relief. England, who finished 2025 with a 4-2 home loss to the USA in the friendly, that I know, speaking to a couple of people in and around the camp, they felt like that was a really good benchmark of where they might be at this present moment and getting to play arguably the team to beat.
Yeah, definitely, and I think, you know, gone are the days back in my day, not to sound like that, but like we used to get beat by the USA, but I think the Lionesses have progressed so much that I do think, you know, at major tournaments, not just the first team, under 23s, under 20s, I think other nations now are looking at this England team as a force to be reckoned with, because we know how to bring it home now, as we've seen with the first team, as we've seen with the under 20s.
Simpson looking for the 1-2. I think she has just kept that in play, and it's nodded in. 1-0 England. Lena Gunning-Williams on her first start for the under-23s with a perfect guided header to put England in front. Lovely 1-2. The cross from Simpson was perfect, as was the finish.
I spoke about the story of this player. Lena Gunning-Williams made her debut here a year ago, gets the first start tonight. It's a fantastic ball from Simpson on this left-hand side, digs it out so well. And, you know, Lena Gunning-Williams had a lot to do in that moment. It's a brilliant header. We'll take another look here. The way this is dug out by Simpson, that is a beautiful ball, and it's a lovely header. What a perfect goal. Delivering on the run from Simpson. Great play. Great play. It's a lovely tackle. We can see there from Lexi Potter as well that got things going. But that's a lovely goal. Lovely, lovely goal. I'm so delighted for Lena Gunning-Williams. When you play for your country, getting your first start, let alone scoring, dream come true.
Yeah, and if you head the ball off the inside of the post, that is a keeper's nightmare, really. There was absolutely no chance for Rohina van Eyck. So much power on the cross. It just needed, I say just, not to in any way downplay it, but it was a cross that just, the pace was already on it. It's perfect as a forward.
Yeah, and that's something you don't really see that much in world football, like players delivering the ball on the run to the centre forward or the wide player that's in there. It's a beautiful goal, and it's something you work on in training, you know, crossing and finishing sessions, and that was put perfectly. Lauren Smith will be delighted with that. Going up, you know, 12 minutes into the game, fantastic.
England now looking to build on that advantage. Lena Gunning-Williams, the early difference maker. One in midfield, and Simons recycles for Potter. You would have seen it as well. There was definitely a moment where Lena Gunning-Williams caught her family watching in the crowd in celebration there. As that is a little bit late on Lies Rijsbergen from Meg Collette. Good set-piece chance for the Dutch in a game where I haven't really seen many, if any, set pieces of note so far. Yeah,
it's a definite foul all day long from Collette, but I do think down that left-hand side for the Netherlands are getting a little bit of joy, as we saw Nordman break down there 5 minutes ago or so. I do think England need to maybe double up in that area. Maybe Lena Gunning-Williams could come back and drop into those areas. You know, maybe Parkinson in that 10 role has to do her defensive work as well, which she is doing.
Looks like it will be Emma Frains with the in-swinger, unless that's a bit of double bluff from the Dutch. It is Frains. It's a low skidding ball, and in truth it wasn't a great one. It never is if you don't get past the first defender, but a missed kick from Simons hands Netherlands the first corner of the game.
Yeah, it wasn't a great ball in from Frains. I think you could see from Simons' frustration. It was just a missed kick. She didn't mean that at all, but it was a poor ball into the box from the Netherlands.
Second chance for the Dutch to get a better delivery in. First corner of the game. It's too close to Keating, who has a really nervous moment, and luckily for England, doesn't quite end up palming it either into our own net or into a chance for one of the visitors' attackers to pop it in for 1-1.
Yeah, Chiara Keating knows, she doesn't need me to tell her, has to do better in that situation, but thankfully, you know, it's gone out for another corner. This is the goal again. I mean, what a strike that is, what a header that is. Fantastic ball in. Could watch that all day long. Love the celebration as well.
Outswinger from Frains. It's a better corner. It's clearly aiming for that far post runner, who's picked up a knock in going for the ball. I think it was Rijsbergen. The Dutch, regardless, will play on, despite the fact that they're sort of down to 10 here. Shabani. Space for Danik Nordman. He's hoping that Tolhoek would make a run. Nice persistence from Van Koppen, trying to force the error. England keen to play out from the back where possible. Lexi Potter, 19 years old. And for an under-23s game, that is certainly on the young side. The Netherlands with just one teenager in their starting lineup tonight, René van Asten. Meanwhile, two teenagers in the starting 11 for England in the form of Lexi Potter and Erica Meg Parkinson, who's 17. Van Asten. A little bit of space out here for Shabani. Dutch looking to push and probe this England defence about. Weefkin driving forward a little more direct. That's good pressing from Gunner-Williams, and that forced a hurried pass from Frains, which gets England the ball back. Potter has to be a little bit wary though. Managed to get herself out of trouble, but ball's a bit of a hot potato at the moment. And that would be a foul on Erica Meg Parkinson.
I think something the Lionesses can do a little bit better is finding Lexi Potter, you know, in that midfield role, in that 8 role. She'll really get things ticking. I don't think they found her enough for me. It's been quite stop-start from the Lionesses in this first 15 minutes. Yes, they're 1-0 up, but I think playing through the midfield and looking to play out wide, they can really get a lot of joy. Klinger down this left-hand side. She's got a lot of space. She's hugging the touchline quite well, but I don't think they're finding the ball through the lines quick enough for me yet.
Nice little touch inside from Klinger. The Dutch get it back. Only really seen one chance of any note, and that has been the goal, apart from that slightly nervous moment for Keating from the cross. Always difficult, particularly as a goalkeeper, when you've spent large parts of the season as an unused substitute and suddenly you're back there in the pressure of an international. You can't really train and prepare for that.
No, you can't, and I'm not making excuses for her, but I think it's a lot for these under-23 players. Not a lot of them play a lot for their clubs. You know, a lot of them have gone out on loan last season, and the loan spells have definitely worked. You know, Lexi Potter went out on loan to Crystal Palace 2 years in a row. Top player. I said it before, Michael. I genuinely think someone like Lexi Potter could be an England captain of the future. Still got a long way to go, but a top player. Then you've got players like Goodwin that play a lot for their clubs. So it's a good array of experience amongst, you know, a lot of players that haven't played a lot of minutes.
Weefkind again bringing the ball out well from the back. That's something she offers well as a centre-half. Van Koppen with the early cross. Runs towards Nordman, fighting for it. And then the foul drawn by Maisie Simons, who's captaining the under-23s for the first time. Has also played for the senior Lionesses. And has been a long time part of things at Brighton. I mean, to have 23, to have 70 WSL appearances to your name is quite a thing when you think that you're looking at 22 game seasons. So all told, that is 3 and a bit seasons of games. Yeah,
and this is what I was saying about the fact that there's some players that don't play a lot, and then you've got players like Simons, Goodwin that play a lot, so they can use that experience. And I do think like these players are really good now at keeping themselves fit and healthy, regardless of whether they're playing or not.
Played back by Tolhoek. It's a little bit frantic, and the Netherlands' first shot of the game is ultimately wild and wide. Nothing for Keating to be too concerned about from Lynn Groenewegen, who decided to try her luck. One of the older players in this squad, just about eligible. She's played in the Champions League a fair bit for FC Twente. Was very impressive in a 2-2 draw for them against Chelsea in the league phase earlier on this season, where was up against a pretty star-studded Chelsea midfield and more than held her own that night.
Yeah, that was a decent strike from Groenewegen in that moment as well. She caught it really well. It looked a bit adventurous in that moment, but she definitely caught it well. And yeah, FC Twente this season against Chelsea, you know, they're out of the competition, but they did really well.
Chance for England to create something on the break, but Goodwin is offside. Just as she was dreaming of a flick inside for the goal scorer, Gunning Williams.
I don't know about that one, Mike. You know, I actually thought Goodwin made a really good run out wide, and she made a run from central as well, so I'm quite surprised, and you can see she was a bit shocked as well. We all are as players when the flag goes up with the assistant referee, but I thought it was a good run.
Well, you all are as strikers, eh?
Yeah.
One's a striker, always a striker. Sanderson alongside. I'm sure if we had a defender next to us in the box, he'd be saying quite the opposite.
Absolutely.
Here's Nordman, who's got space left and right, and outright is Van Koppen, and Van Koppen's in the clear, and it's a great save by Keating to keep it at 1-0. Mirta van Koppen so close, and Keating, having been awkward in that dealing with that cross 5 minutes or so ago, was at her brilliant best there.
What a save from Chiara Keating. Fantastic shot stopper for Van Koppen in this moment. I was just waiting for the net to ripple. That is some save. I think Van Koppen did everything right in that moment. Goes low, goes across the keeper. That is a fantastic save from Chiara Keating.
What can the Dutch do from the corner? The floater, and again Keating doesn't gather it cleanly, albeit gathers it with a bit more composure than the previous one, just bounces it down in front of her.
I'll tell you what, that's actually she did better that one, Chiara Keating, but I do think that's quite a difficult ball to defend.
One back in midfield, referee looked to play advantage, but then there was a foul on the advantage as well.
Yeah, Lexi Potter there just got caught in possession. I'm actually quite surprised the referee didn't give a booking for that as well, because it was, you know, she pulled her down. I'm glad she didn't, but I think, yeah, I spoke about Lexi Potter getting on the ball a little bit more, being able to play through the lines.
Yeah, there was a good counter-attack building, and so for the context of that, you wondered whether there could be a card. Weifkind forced back that time by Goodwin. Van Asten. That's a good ball in between the lines. Chance to turn and spin, and Van Koppen's in more space out on this inside right channel. Low cross wasn't a bad one, and it's a third corner of the night for the Netherlands.
Yeah, they're certainly causing more problems the last 5 minutes or so. Van Koppen's had a couple of chances out on this right-hand side. I think for the Lionesses in their back line, they're being a little bit too narrow, a little bit too compact, which is allowing the Netherlands to be able to break on the right-hand side or the left-hand side. So they just need to spread out a little bit more in those back line areas to delay.
Rosa van Hol, the Dutch skipper, Everton midfielder as well, clips in the corner. Headed up. Little game of penalty box head tennis developing. England just about win it and thump it away to get themselves clear. Probably one of the players in this Dutch side that particularly English-based fans might be a little more familiar with. Has played 16 times for Everton since signing this summer after a detailed CV that she built coming through at Young Ajax, and then Ajax, including being a big part of that Ajax side that had quite a good Champions League run a few seasons back. Lovely swivel inside. And that's a good tackle at an important moment for England, who are having to withstand a fair bit of pressure here.
Yeah, they're getting pinned back quite a lot. I spoke about Parkinson having to have a lot of defensive responsibilities. I think she's doing a really good job at getting back behind the ball. Ultimately, you want your number 10 to be able to occupy the spaces in and around the opposition's box. But I do think the Netherlands have kind of gained a little bit of confidence the last few minutes. You know, last 5-10 minutes or so, they're possessing the ball a lot better. And they're creating this overload on this right-hand side. And if they move the ball quick enough, they'll be able to get out.
And of course, modern games in particular are so much about little games of chess like that, how you can manipulate the ball into certain spaces, and then almost on a 10 or 15 minute rolling basis, how the head coaches and the analysts, some of which are right next to us up here, are watching what's going on, passing messages out to try and switch and adjust.
Yeah, and I think for England, they are giving away the ball for me far too easy. You know, in their build-up play, I don't think I spoke about the midfield, but they're not being able to find Goodwin centrally as well, because she's quite good at dropping in.
Ball in behind again, looking for Van Koppen, albeit in a slightly different way this time, trying to actually get her running in behind, whereas what they've previously done is pulled England out left, pulled them across, and then Van Koppen's been in a bit of space. Yeah,
I actually thought Simpson did a really good job there to just alleviate the pressure, let it go out of bounds.
Simpson's cross that is the difference between these two, headed in by Gunning-Williams, but it was one of those goals that was as much, if not even more, about the assist than the ball in, because it wasn't even just the cross, it was Simpson's idea to create and start the 1-2 that led to the chance being created.
Yeah, it was fantastic play, and I mean, I think for this Lionesses side, you know, you saw Goldie there picking up the ball in that moment. You know, you want to be able to play. She only took that touch because there were no options in front of her, and I think England have to do a better job of being able to get the midfield, you know, dropping in a little bit deeper, being a bit more fluid in their movement centrally. You can see they're possessing the ball here, but it's like, what next? You know, are they going to ping a ball in the diagonal? Are they going to open them up a little bit more? Be patient. But I think the Netherlands are doing a really good job at being structured in their defensive work.
Pryor has to be a little bit careful here. Does draw the foul, but the Netherlands won't necessarily mind that too much. It's going to be a talking to for Mirta van Koppen, but she will avoid going in the book. But the Dutch are certainly sensing and smelling high press opportunities, and that was not too far away from turning into something. And again, the Dutch's high press causing England more issues, but great interception from Simpson. He wants the 1-2, but has in fact lost it to Shibani. Van Koppen down the right. It's a tumbling tackle, it's a good tackle, and now Simpson can launch England forward by finding Klinger. And it was a 3-on-3 briefly for a second. Orange shirts flying back. Gunning-Williams, the goal scorer, passes just behind Klinger, who's now swapped flanks temporarily. England's first foray forward, really, since the goal, ends with a bit of a miscommunication. I think Klinger thought that Gunning-Williams was going to be charging down that line. In fact, she comes short to try and hold it up. Yeah,
really good original play. Nice break from Klinger. She took her touch centrally, goes into the midfield, played a good ball out to Gunning-Williams. But I do think the game at this moment in time, England are giving away the ball, even on set pieces in the defensive areas. They're giving away the ball, so it's hard for them to get continuity and any consistent type of passing for any of the players, because they're not able to keep the ball.
Lauren Smith in shot there, assisted in this window for now by Geraint Twose, who was part of Serena Wiegmann's coaching team that won back-to-back European Championships at senior level, with a more settled regular under-23 structure to be announced in due course. As things stand for now, Smith will be taking the under-20s at their upcoming World Cup in September, and then John Solomon has stepped up from the under-16s to the under-19s at this present moment. It's coming up this year. The under-19s have also got the Euros in Bosnia and Herzegovina, so there's plenty going on around age group football, and tournaments like that can be so useful for players psychologically as a stepping stone, just to get used to the sense and feeling of being at a major tournament for their country, as Gunning Williams just runs out of room.
Definitely, they're so crucial as well for development, you know, and it's a massive pathway that England have, and I like the fact they keep it in-house. You know, the coaches are moving up through the system, because then it's not alien to the players when they get into the first team or when they get into the 23s, but it's still a big jump, Michael, from the 23s to the first team. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of these players are used to playing with top players, but it's like the pressure of playing for your country. Like, a lot of people, you could be a good footballer, but it's all the other side, the psychological side, the mental side that comes with the game, and sometimes the shirt is too heavy for some players.
Simon's winning the ball back for England, and now Dutch pressing well once more. Klinger. And then Potter in a bit of a spot of bother. She looked inside for a second and realised that didn't really have much of an option. And that has just about stayed in place, stabbed out eventually by Shabani. And I guess as well, that's another reason the under-23s was created, to try and give some level of that bridging between the under-19s and the seniors. And I know the FA were one of the big driving European associations to creating this Women's Under-23 European Championship, so that there was meaningful, regular, competitive games with some context, semi-finals and finals added for the first time this season, to help further develop football at this level.
Yeah, because before that, you know, sometimes they'd be meeting up 3 times a year, which isn't enough. And I think, you know, formerly for us, it was the under-21s, which was fantastic for people that were, you know, maybe sometimes they were overage, you know, and they would come down maybe because they had an injury, and it was almost like a stopgap between the senior side and the under-21s. So, you know, and I played in that team under Brent Hills for a number of games, and it was brilliant to be part of that team, because you felt like what it means to play for England, that feeling, representing your country.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Brent Hills, because he talked about the fact that across the last generation it's become a greater challenge to break into the seniors. He said, when I started, if you were an extremely talented 18-year-old, you might have been able to get into the senior team. I'll give you an example, Farrah Williams. You would have to be the next Kelly Smith now to go and do that. So actually, if you're an 18-year-old at that level, you're maybe in the WSL but not playing too much, you need meaningful minutes, and games like this can help provide that. As tracking back is Klinger, who has to be wary of Shabani. Klinger strong in the duel.
And there are some players that, you know, just because they make the under-23s doesn't mean they're automatically going to make it to the first team, because you have to have all the elements.
Shabani just being ushered a little further back to where it had gone off. Responded well to going a goal behind here, the Netherlands. They've been very composed with the ball at their feet, and they're kind of picking them apart. Might have been a foul there on Shabani. England might have been a touch fortunate. That's away by Simons, but again, the Dutch have the chance to come again. Haven't got an official possession stat, but the eye test is saying to me probably about 65 to 70%. And, well, if you believe in the commentator's curse, just as I say that, overhit from Weefkin to giving them the ball back. But that's been atypical of what we've seen of the last 15 minutes from the women in orange. It's been a good response to conceding. It
has, and I actually think they've been the better side. And it's interesting because obviously England are going to try things. We've seen Chiara Keating putting down the ball here, but previously we've seen the centre-backs take the set piece.
Chested down by Goodwin. England have gone a little bit back to basics, and it's worked out well for them. All over the top has too much on it, though.
So I'm okay with that, though, Michael, right? It might not be easy on the eye, but sometimes you have to mix it up a little bit. And in these types of games, that's what you have to do. You have to try it. Goodwin is so good at holding the ball up, but she also needs numbers around her. I think it's hard for England to get any type of rhythm in this game because they're giving away the ball from the backline area. So I think if they can possess the ball a little bit better, confidence will breed throughout the team, and then they'll be able to get the ball down and play.
Such a handy all-round forward to have in your team. Izzy Goodwin scored the winner in a 1-0 victory against Norway in November last year, and is a massive reason why the London City Lionesses are now a WSL side. They of course had that big old showdown against Birmingham City where they needed a point to go up, but they had 10,000 and a few more at St Andrews, the vast majority of which were of course wishing the opposite to happen, and they were 2-0 up. Birmingham City came back to level it at 2-2, but ultimately it was an absolute banger from Izzy Goodwin to put London City Lionesses 1-0 up in that game. It was a massive reason why they went up. Certainly one of many to keep an eye on.
Definitely, and I think obviously for someone like Goodwin, it's a step up to the WSL that she's taken to, but hasn't scored obviously anywhere near as many goals as she did in the WSL too. But thankfully for her, she has other players around her. She's not just an out-and-out goal scorer. Yes, we know she can do that, but her movement creates spaces at London City Lionesses for players like Asalani to be able to get on the ball. And I think for this England side, you know, the number 10, Parkinson and Klinger could do a better job at maybe getting a little bit closer to Goodwin, because when she's getting the ball, it's hard, Michael. When you're isolated up top on your own, trust me, I've been there myself. It is so hard.
Yeah, that was said with a knowing tone of someone who has been there themselves plenty of times. Rice Bearhan. Again, it didn't work for them that time, the Netherlands, but again they were looking to work the ball down that inside left channel and create the overlap from Van Koppen, and Van Koppen was available in space. They just didn't quite manage to get it across this time. Nordman wants to play quick, but Tolhoek can't quite bring it under control. On the note of Goodwin, 18 goals in the WSL, what is now the WSL 2, what was the Women's Championship last season, and 2 in the WSL this season. She's got a good scoring record at this level as well. 3 goals in 4 for the under-23s. Foul from Shabani just brings England a bit of relief, having had to do a lot of hard work in defence since going 1-0 up, and a chance to get further up the pitch and try and create something.
Yeah, and I think the Netherlands are doing a really good job at getting bodies around the ball. I mean, when England were breaking out down this left-hand side with Klinger, there was 4 Netherlands players chasing it, hunting her down, and then she turned over the ball. It wasn't her fault because there's 4 or 5 players around her. The Netherlands are doing a really good job. Look at this press from them. There's so many numbers.
It was the pressure on Simons that forced the mistake, and now they've got a chance, the Netherlands, to catch England out in transition, but a slightly heavy touch from Frains. Keating puts boot to ball. Really well brought down by Goodwin with plenty of pressure on her. Simpson was offering but wasn't found, intercepted by Van Koppen. Weefkind.
It's interesting as well, Michael, sorry, because I just saw something that England are giving away the ball in the back line. Netherlands are doing really well until they get to the front line. So it's almost like you mentioned, a game of chess, because the Netherlands are possessing so well defensively and in the midfield, pressuring, and then for England, that it's breaking down before it's into the midfield or the front. And if you're a wide player, or if you're a number 9, you need touches on the ball. And that's something that they haven't really had in this game, the Lionesses, in that front line area.
Yeah, we'd speculate that actually the touch for Gunning-Williams to head the ball in might well be the only touch that an England player has had in the Dutch box all game.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you as well. It hasn't been a bad performance, but just needs to be better.
Forward from Van Eyck, just a little bit too much on that. Runs all the way through to Keating. And speaking about players who got more experience than others, he's nearing 50 games in the WSL. He's at 42, which for someone who, it feels like she's been around forever, but she is only 21, Clara Keating. Good work from Weefkind, with England shirts charging her down. Back to Van Eyck, who hasn't had a lot to do apart from pick the ball out of her net, Rahina Van Eyck. That's a great ball down the line, just inviting the run of Tolhoek. Needs support, didn't quite have it when she wanted it.
That's what I was saying, they're doing so well getting that ball into that front line area, and then Tolhoek just gives away the ball. Like, to be fair to her, she didn't have many numbers in the box, but like, I'd like to see them be a bit more direct, the Netherlands.
Van Koppen had that very decent effort, well saved by Keating. Ball inside, there to be fought for. He's trying to help it on round the corner for Van Holt to chase. England having to dig deep again. Throw from Shabani. and worked across goal. And if there was anyone for the Dutch gambling in that 6-yard box, that could have been oh so dangerous. It's a bit of a let-off for England.
Yeah, definitely. Nordman has been excellent in this game. She's been everywhere. She's been in, that 10 role, then she's on the left, and I think they're causing a lot of problems centrally for England, definitely, and that's something that Lauren Smith at half-time I think will look to rectify. I think it's a simple fix for England. I think they just need to take better care of the ball. It's as simple as that, and I think, because they're giving away the ball far too easily for me, I think then the rest of the players are kind of getting a little bit, frustrated. Not with each other, but with themselves.
Oh, no, speaking to a women's football journalist in the build-up to this one, that Danique Nordman is sort of seen as one of the next cabs off the rank to actually not just go into that senior team but potentially be a regular. This is someone who at 22 has already played more than 100 games in the Eredivisie in the Dutch top flight for PSV Zwolle, and then more recently Ajax, who of course is so consistently, so often one of the dominant sides in the Netherlands. Here comes Goodwin on the break. It's a really good cross, just inviting a finish, and Klinger just couldn't quite stretch out in time to divert it in for 2-0. But out of nowhere, England creating something good in an attacking sense for the first time since going 1-0 up, and it almost paid off.
That's exactly what England can do, what Goodwin can do. I spoke about her not only being an out-and-out goal scorer, but someone that can work the channel, played a lovely ball into the box. It's a decent run from Klinger as well. If I'm being hypercritical, I'd love to see more England players in and around the box. Goodwin only had one player to aim for.
Oh, terrible ball across goal, and Gunning-Williams, had she got there first, could have had a second of the night. As it is, she might be picking up a yellow card for this. She's clattered into Rene van Asten, and it will be a booking for Lena Gunning-Williams, but it's a booking you don't really mind because she had to go for it. As she got there, the Netherlands would have been in all sorts of bother.
Yeah, I tend to think that's a little bit harsh. I spoke about before, I was surprised the referee, didn't get a card out, but I do think, in that moment there, she has every right to go for the ball. Every right. It was an underhit pass back. Was it late? Yes. She has every right to go for it.
Yeah, just another yard or so, and she is first time just rolling the ball into the net for 2-0. The Netherlands living dangerously.
Her momentum is what's taken her into the player. It's not because she's trying to foul her, it's because her willingness. Her eyes probably lit up thinking, I'm going to have a tap in here and put it in the back of the net.
These sides, of course, meeting in a semi-final in April after England topped Group A. That was seen as a really big achievement for the Young Lionesses. It was a tough group, Portugal, France, Germany and Norway. It was seen by many as possibly the tougher of the two groups. England into the semi-finals of that tournament for the first time in its short history, replacing what was more around in my co-commentator Leanne Sanderson's day, the Nordic Cup, as it kind of was, a version of what we've got now, something that at and around this level gave teams a chance to play meaningful games against each other.
Yeah, we used to love that tournament. We'd get to go to Scandinavia, play Norway, Sweden against some really top opposition. But I do like the change. I think it encourages more competitive games, especially like this one. It's quite unique that they're playing each other relatively soon again, and I've no doubt it'll be a completely different game. They'll learn stuff within these games about each other, no doubt, but there'll probably be completely different personnel out there, especially for the Lionesses.
Yeah, Lauren Smith made a point of telling us in her pre-match interview that she'd be holding a few things back. She'd be keeping a few cards firmly close to the chest for tonight. Now, Lexi Potter's got a little bit of a problem here. It looked from the way she was reacting like something's caught in her eye. Hopefully nothing too serious for the 19-year-old who's in her first season stepping up to under 23s level. It's sort of like a version of when you're at school, if you're the cleverest kid in the class, to say, you know what, let's get you up an age group or two. And when you've got Eric and Meg Parkinson at 17 and Potter at 19 in this under 23s team, it tells you a lot about how highly rated they are.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly similar to Chloe Sari as well. These young players that are younger than the age group, is exactly the development is there. We always played a couple of years above our age, the better players did, and I think sometimes you outgrow the team that you're in, with regards to the personnel, the speed of play, and that's the jump I was talking about, Michael, that some players can't make. It's the speed. Ask any player that's made that step up, it's completely different.
Great crossfield ball for Van Koppen. Just doesn't quite get the weighting of the pass right for Nordman, but the Dutch have looked at their best tonight when creating that overload on the inside right for Van Koppen, and Nordman has always been involved as the playmaker.
Definitely, I think they're having a field day down this right-hand side, and I do feel for the Netherlands because I think they've been the better side. This reminds me of the game I did against Portugal when England went up in that game and then Portugal came back.
Chance for England on the breakthrough. Erica Meg Parkinson feeding Goodwin, who's a little isolated, but white shirts flying forward now. Goodwin has managed to get it away to Simpson, who set up the first goal. What could you conjure up here? It's another good cross from Simpson. It almost fell for Gunning-Williams. It's still there. It's Collette now. Wins the corner. Lovely, purposeful, flowing, attacking move from England, and it almost resulted in the same combination from the first goal, scoring the second.
Tell you what, Izzy Goodwin worked wonders here because she was so isolated. She's been everywhere, out on that right, she's out on this left-hand side. She did so well. And England, to be fair to them, I don't think it's been their best performance, but they have been quite clinical, you know, when it comes to ruthless. They need to be a little bit more ruthless in the 6-yard box, but they've created something out of nothing with not many numbers in the box.
England's first corner of the game. In swinger, flicked on by Gunning-Williams and into the side netting, and the spectators away to our right have pretty much the worst view of the ground. Just saw the net ripple and bless them, got a bit excited.
Yeah, that was a lovely little header because then Gunning-Williams was completely past the front post, and I think, you know, some of the fans did think it was in the back of the net.
Gunning-Williams has already got one tonight. She's a great example of a player who can really benefit from a developmental loan spell. She was coming right through the system at Spurs, but actually it was going to play for Ipswich Town in the 3rd tier back in the 2023-24 season. She scored 15 goals there across all comps, and she went from being in a team where you're training with the seniors but not getting many minutes at all, to a team where actually people are looking at you almost as one of the stars of the side, and you've come down on loan a couple of tiers and a lot's expected of you. And it's no surprise that she stepped back into that Spurs team at the start of last season and actually was far more often in matchday squads, was far more often playing meaningful minutes in big high-profile games, as opposed to getting the opportunities in the League Cup or waiting for a bit of an injury crisis.
Yeah, and it's difficult. It's highly competitive at Tottenham this season, as we've seen under Martin Ho. He's done an incredible job, and it's like she'll have to wait for opportunities, and she has a good attitude. It's difficult sometimes when you don't play that many minutes, especially for the club you've grown up at, but being patient sometimes can pay off in the end.
Rice Bareham has a chance to put in a good cross, and it's not a bad cross at all. Taya Goldie won the battle to be there first, ahead of Tolhook. There's a game within a game here of England just trying to manage this through to half-time. They've had a half where they've had to absorb more of the pressure, albeit England can point to the fact that they've actually quite possibly created the better chances, as well as, of course, getting that crucial goal. Keating has to be wary. Tolhook's charging her down. Again, this really proactive Dutch high press, and that forces Gracie Pryor just to say, look, I've got to get this off the pitch.
Yeah, and I think that's an opportunity at half-time. Lauren Smith will have to change that because clearly England want to play out from the back, as does every team. But I think the Netherlands' high press has caught them off guard a little bit, because if your manager and your coaches are telling you one thing, that's what's in your head. You're not going to go against them. But this is an opportunity here where I'd like to see the players maybe take more responsibility, because it's not really on to play out from the back.
I was just about to say that there's always an element as a player of taking ownership as well, for adopting to the conditions and the way you see things change within a game. And there's always that relationship between players and managers and I guess that's one of the things, particularly with an under-23s team, with the more senior players within this team doing that.
Yeah, it's really difficult though, because you don't want to be seen to be going against what the coaches are asking, because they're obviously trying.
That won't get you picked.
No, it won't. But I think sometimes you're right. You know, when I went into the first team at England, it was like players like Farrah Williams, Kelly Smith, Rachel Yankee, that, you know, they took ownership, which allowed me to take ownership as well. So, you know, it's difficult because they are trying different things. Like I say, Lauren Smith's going to keep cards close to her chest because they play them relatively soon. They're not going to be trying any crazy set pieces because they'll obviously save them for that game they have coming up.
Van Koppen turns and spins away from Simpson, and this will be a booking and a definite yellow card. Van Koppen won the duel, and you can understand why Simpson chose to do what she did there, because Van Koppen was driving into a very dangerous space.
Yeah, Van Koppen and Norman have been excellent in this game. I mean, I understand why Simpson had to bring her down in that moment, got caught the wrong side, got spun, and if she doesn't bring her down, she's going towards goal.
You always know it's a definite yellow card when the fullback trots off and makes no attempt to have a conversation with the referee. They don't even think to argue the case. It's just like, yep, I knew that was coming. That was priced in. And it's no surprise if we see Van Koppen running at Simpson plenty more after that. So it could be the outswinger from Emma Frains or the inswinger from Rosa van Hall. It's from Frains. It's a pretty harmless header that Keating gathers with simplicity.
I think England will make some substitutions at half-time. I know they made 3 changes today after that win against France, but I think, you know, a player like Ruby Mays could come into this game. They need someone in the midfield that can get the ball, demand the ball, and, you know, make things happen. Lexi Potter is wide open a lot of the times, but they're just not finding it. You can see they're on that far side there. They're not finding her. She's saying, give me the ball, because she's open. So I think a player like Ruby Mays coming into this game, Asari coming into this game as well. I've mentioned her a lot, but she's a top player. But they have to keep the ball, Michael, a lot better in the second half.
Into first half stoppage time, which there's not much of. Ball in play time must be through the roof this half. It's been one that's had very few stoppages of any meaningful amount.
To be fair, that's a great shot. I don't think we see that much in football anymore, do we?
The spectators here have got value for money. They've been entertained aplenty, and most of them here, of course, of an English persuasion, will be pleased that Lena Gunning-Williams' goal is the difference between the sides. We'll, of course, have more analysis coming at half-time pitch side with Charlie and Leanne. For now, England just seeing if there's one last opportunity to sneak a second. Colette, at club level, has come through Southampton's academy, been a key part of their WSL2 squad this season, particularly with Ellen Morris moving to Spurs. England in front at half-time. Lena Gunning-Williams on target with a beautifully guided header from Jess Simpson's excellent cross. And that early goal is the difference between the two teams. Gunning-Williams scoring on the ground where she made her under-23s debut back in October 2024. England have had a couple of other half chances. Chiara Keating also had to be at her brilliant best to keep it at 1-0, denying Mirta van Koppen with a magnificent save low to her right-hand side. The Netherlands have had more of the possession, have been probing, have caused England plenty of problems defensively, particularly manipulating and creating space down the Dutch's right and England's left. So there'll be tactical adjustments for both sides at the break in what we expected to be and has proven to be a friendly that's got plenty of competitive spice about it, and a game as well that has seen really high level of technical and tactical quality on show from both teams. England offering a threat on the counter-attack through the likes of Izzy Goodwin, Eleanor Klinger, and of course the goal scorer Gunning-Williams. It'll be intriguing to see how both teams potentially use their benches as well. We can hand to Vishali pitch side with a score at half-time here. England under-23s 1, the Netherlands 0.
So much, Michael. Yes, I am pitch side, and I'm joined now by Leanne, who's made that quick dash down from the gantry to talk all about that sole goal for England, scored by Lena Gunning-Williams, who of course came back into the side for her first start, and she scored. I mean, what a moment for her.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, she made her debut here like a year and a half ago. It was a fantastic ball from Simpson down his left-hand side, and you know what? I'm so happy for Lena Gunning-Williams, a player that's been very patient, hasn't got a lot of minutes at Tottenham this year, but I think, you know, you can see how delighted she was. I love the fact she was celebrating. You can see she was looking to her family and friends in the crowd, and that's what it's all about. Yeah. You know, playing for your country is the biggest honour you could ever have, but scoring, you know, I remember every goal I scored, and I'm just delighted for Lena.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, pre-match, off camera, she was speaking to me about there being a little bit of nerves from her side, obviously coming in for her first start for the under-23s. But we didn't see nerves out there on the pitch in the first 45 from her, did we?
No, and it does help when you get a goal, you know, to settle the nerves. I was nervous every time I played for England, so I completely understand that. It doesn't matter what level you're at, you're playing for your country. But it was a brilliant goal. You know, it was a lovely header. I was never blessed in the air with Charlie, so I really appreciated that one. But Simpson being able to deliver that ball on the run, like, it's not something we see that often in world football now, you know, players delivering the ball. So, yeah, I thought it was one of the best things that's happened to the Lionesses in that first half. I thought, you know, the Netherlands, I actually think, have been the better side. I have to put my biases aside. Obviously, I want the Lionesses to win. But at the same time, I thought the Netherlands, like Nordman's been fantastic. You know, Van Koppen as well, down this right-hand side. They were causing England all sorts of problems. So I think in the second half, I think Lauren Smith I spoke about maybe Ruby Mace coming into the game to maybe settle things down a little bit. They need to get Lexi Potter on the ball a little bit more, and I think England need to take better care of it defensively. But they have been good. Like Goodwin, it's difficult when you're isolated up top on your own. It's quite difficult, but she's working the channels really, really well. Just needs a little bit more help.
A big moment at 1-0. Netherlands did go on the attack, and Kiara Keaton was needed to make a big save to keep the score at 1-0.
Unbelievable save. I mean, there was a moment before Kiara Keaton was on the corner, and you could see she was so frustrated at herself because she parried it out, didn't she? It went out for a corner, but that is what Kiara Keaton is all about. You know, a top goalkeeper, still relatively young, and it's difficult for her because this year at Manchester City, Yamashita has been so good, so Kiara hasn't really been able to play. But when she's called upon, that's exactly what she can do. She did that last year at Manchester City, and, you know, pulling off that type of save, that doesn't surprise me because that's what Kiara Keaton is all about.
And this is what it's all about, really, for players like her, who obviously, she's back with the under-23s. She was part of Serena Wiegmann's European winning side, but these sorts of games give her the chance to play and show what she can do.
Yeah, and it's difficult, Vishali. Like, ultimately, you want to be with the seniors. Once you have a taste of it, that is when you just feel like, when you go back, it's not a downward step, but you feel it, like, you know, because it's different when you're part of the big girls, so to speak. Because I've been there myself. You want to be there, but it can also be ammunition, and she can use that as a bit of an incentive to then be like, I want to be back there. And it's difficult because if she was playing, she would be there. You know, as we know, Serena Wiegmann will pick players. You know, Ellie Roebuck's gone to the seniors again, was there before. So she will get, I have no doubt Kiara Keaton has a really bright future with the senior team, but she has to perform like that, and she's been brilliant.
We mentioned Lena Gunning-Williams' goal and the way she linked up with Jess Simpson, of course, who got the assist. And they linked up later on in the first half as well. I mean, they're showing really good understanding on the pitch, aren't they?
Yeah, they've been ruthless in certain areas, you know, with regards to when they are being clinical. I do think they need to get more numbers in and around the box. You know, we saw that moment there when Goodwin's gone in there, but I do think England need to get more numbers and bodies in the box. They're being quite ruthless in certain areas, down the left, down the right, but I don't think they're getting enough bodies. And I said it with Michael on comms, you know, Netherlands are really good from the back line to the midfield. England have been poor coming out with the back of the ball, and I think Lauren Smith will definitely be looking at half-time to change that, because they're just giving away the ball far too cheaply.
Yeah, and obviously with the fact that this is a really good chance to see other players in action. She made 3 changes for this team. Who do you think she could potentially look to bring on in the second half?
I mentioned Ruby Mace. I think she's a top player. You know, when she was at Leicester, she's gone to Everton. Kind of got under the radar a little bit this season. She was one of Leicester's best players when she was there, but has a real bright future. Has had a taste of the first team with England as well. Chloe Sari as well, you know, a young player. I love watching her play when she's played for Chelsea. I mean, I think she'll be England's answer to that left-back position for years to come. It's a position that England haven't really filled. You know, when the next generation of players move on, like an Alex Greenwood and Lucy Bronze, we never want that day to come, but it will come. And I do think, like, Sari has a really bright future ahead of her. So we could see her come into this game, but England just have to take better care of the ball.
Now, I mentioned that I spoke to Lena Gunning-Williams pre-match. Let's hear what she had to say to me a couple of hours ago. Lena, well, thanks for taking the time to speak with me pre-match. Now, look, you're back in front of the home fans, the first home game in 2026. How excited are you?
No, it's really exciting. And the last time I was here, it was a win against Portugal as well, and that was actually my debut back then. So it's nice to be back here.
You mentioned it was your debut. I mean, today's your first start for the under-23s. How excited are you about that?
No, I'm really excited, and I quite like things like that. It feels like a full circle moment, and I like when things fall into place like that. I think it's really exciting, especially with this group of girls. I think we can really put on a good performance for the home fans.
You've obviously had a new manager at the helm, an interim manager in Lauren Smith. What's she's been like to work with?
I think she's been great. I think she's been really adaptable because this is her first camp here and it's a new group for her. We're all learning each other and things like that. But she's been great and she's been really good at communicating things, and I'm happy that she's given me my first start.
Today's game is against the Netherlands. You'll play them again in the semi-finals of the European competition next month. So how big a test is this just to get ready for that game?
I think both teams will know that we're going to be looking out for how people play, the tactics, certain individuals. I think it's a good test for us, but also whether it's a friendly or not, we're just looking at the game in front of us, and hopefully we can get the win now and in the semi-finals.
Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was my interview with Lena Gunning-Williams earlier on. It just feels perfect that she scored here tonight. I have to say, one of the other bits I was talking to her about off camera was her amazing jewellery that you could see in that interview. I mean, I've got to pick her brains afterwards about where she gets that stuff from. Anyway, I digress. Overall, how big a moment is this for her? Do you think that we'll see her for the entirety of this game now?
Potentially. I mean, it's interesting because Lauren Smith, you know, against France didn't make that many changes. Coming into this game tonight, made these 3 changes. But I do think this Lionesses team have taken things to another level. You know, they're not coming out here to make up the numbers. Those days are gone. They're here to win. And I think they showed on Monday night against a really good France team. They knew how to get the job done. I think Lauren Smith will be hoping, because the possession, we spoke about it on comms, like Netherlands, I would say, have had about 70% possession. In fact, there was only 1 minute added on at the end of the game. The ball was in play the entire game, but at the same time, the entire first half. But like England just have to take better care of the ball. Find Lexi Potter. She is a key player for this team, and they haven't found her enough for me because the ball's breaking down before it's got to the midfield.
Yeah, and a really good run through, really, because they do play the Netherlands next month in the semi-finals of the European competition. We've talked about this being a big game for players like Lena, but what about for the interim manager, Lauren Smith? Because this is her second game in charge, second game in a space of, 5 days, and it's looking like it could be 2 wins from 2 for her.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can get carried away based upon the fact that it's only half-time, but they have to perform better. But I think, obviously, performances, wins. She is an interim coach right now, but anyone that's an interim coach, they say, oh, you know, I'm just here, you know, for the time. No, you want the job. You do. Like, it's the reality. And I think, you know, if she does a really good job and gets these results, and she's part of the system already with the under-20s, I'm sure the under-20s don't want to lose her. But if she does well, you know, you have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, what have you made of the way that she set the team up and the way they're playing under her?
Yeah, I mean, it's been 2 games, but I think against France, that's massive going to Clairefontaine. You know, it's a difficult place to go to, like I mentioned pre-game. But I do think, you know, she can implement the game plan, right? She can tell the players to go out and do X, Y, and Z, but they have to put it in place. And I think you can see clearly they're trying to play out from the back. The 2 centre-backs at times are taking the goal kicks. Then sometimes Kiara Keating's done one where she's punting it forward to Goodwin. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Might not be easy on the eye, but the reality is you have to do what you've got to do. But the players have to take responsibility as well. You know, the coach can only do so much. Players tonight, some of them are giving away the ball far too easily. And I'm sure that will be, I don't know that's going to be a message at half-time, but that would be what I would be saying to the players. Just relax a little bit more. You know, when you play for your country, there's that extra pressure. Yeah. I know, I've breathed it.
And they're playing here at home, aren't they?
Exactly,
well?
And the crowd's fantastic. You know, you've got the band here as well. Like, there is that pressure, but the fact they're 1-0 up, you know, they'll be going into the next half and they'll be hoping they can have a better performance because the Netherlands still haven't scored, thanks to Kiara Keating in the back of the net, because she doesn't pull off that save, it's 1-1.
Now, Lauren Smith does look like she's enjoying it out there. I did speak to her about this pretty much. Let's hear her thoughts.
It's been brilliant, and you know, I'm very proud and thankful to have the opportunity to step in. It's great for what I go back to as well with the 20s. I know what the standard is at the 23s, and it's my job to make sure that they can go and break into that one day. So from a long-term perspective, it's great for me and the players to come. Right now, I've just loved every minute of it, and I'm very thankful to have the opportunity.
Just finally, any players that we should be looking out for that you think, you know, you've seen them in training, they could be making their mark in the senior side pretty soon?
The senior side, that's putting a bit of pressure on. We've got some players that have stepped into the senior environment before. So Maisie Simmons, Ruby Mace, Kiara Keating, all of those are obviously, you know, stars in this group. We've got some very young talent that have stepped in from the 20s group. So Chloe Sawi and Erica Parkinson. I've had great weeks, but it's hard to just pick one right now because the standard in training has been excellent, and they lift each other up, this group, just like any England team should. I've seen a lot of that, so I'm not going to pick on one. I think they've been brilliant to work with all week.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck for the game tonight.
Thank you very much.
So Lauren Smith there with a big smile on her face pretty much. Let's hope she'll still have a big smile on her face post-match. Leanne, I wanted to ask you about the atmosphere because there is such a good turnout. I mean, I was speaking to one of the girls who was pitch side pre-match, and she saw the mic and she said, oh, is this on Chit TV? And I said, it's on YouTube. And she got really excited. There's so many young girls out here today. I mean, what kind of an impact do you think it will be for them watching the under-23s in action here on home soil?
It's massive and it's crucial. I think that even the fact that we're here, you know, and people can watch this game, I think it's fantastic. I think for the crowd, it's brilliant because sometimes you never know, you know, it's Friday night, you know, people, but the fact that these young girls are out here, like, I think it just goes to show you the Lionesses, exactly what they have done. They're household names now, you know, the senior side, and I think now everybody wants to come and see the young players because these players will be the next generation of players that will go on, you know, not everyone, will be able to make the grade and make the cut, but they will go on to perform for the first team. And, you know, I think the crowd's been brilliant.
Yeah, and it is great that we get to see these matches around England as well, so people from around the country get to watch the Lionesses, the Young Lionesses in action as well.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's something that England do a really good job of. I mean, the senior team are playing Iceland at Nottingham Forest at the weekend. You know, not all the games are only at Wembley and those types of things. So, yeah, Shrewsbury have come out in their numbers, and they're going to need the crowd in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely, Leanne. I'm going to let you go now because you have to make that run up again to the gantry. But as me and Leanne have been discussing, it is 1-0 to England against the Netherlands. Lena Gunning-Williams coming in for her first start for the under-23s, getting that headed opener in the 11th minute. Let's see whether or not England can hold on for the win in the next 45. Back to you, Michael, up in the gantry.
Thanks very much, Vishali. So England looking to turn a half-time advantage into a full-time friendly victory that would be a psychological boost ahead of these teams meeting in an under-23s European semi-final in Spain in April. Albeit different circumstances that will be in a month or so's time, and I imagine a little bit warmer. As you can see, young and old wrapped up pretty well, as is important. Temperatures dropping to in and around 3 degrees now, and England are going to make a change at half-time. Lexi Lloyd-Smith, who scored the winner just before half-time against France on Monday, finishing off nicely after Erica Meg Parkinson had charged into the box and hit the post. The ball was eventually recycled by England to Lloyd-Smith, who scored the goal. And it is a double change because Maisie Simons is also going to make way for Ruby Mace, which will be a straight swap in that central defensive midfield role. So England using the half-time break to make a couple of alterations. 2 games in the space of 5 days. So no surprise that there is an element of rotation within that. And Izzy Goodwin has also made way for Lloyd-Smith to come on and get another chance to impress. Lloyd-Smith, who came through in the youth systems of Chelsea and Charlton, but made a breakthrough with Southampton in their rise through Tier 3 before moving to Bristol City back in 2024. The US, she also made her under-23s debut against Germany. No changes for the Netherlands, who are now kicking from right to left, England from left to right. Delighted to welcome back Leanne Sanderson, who's made the trip up. England looking to turn a half-time advantage into a second win in the week. It'll be interesting to see how that double change affects things, but England immediately putting themselves under pressure because Keating has given it to Van Koppen, who is winning a corner for the Netherlands within a minute of the restart.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Michael, because when you asked me which changes I would make, I mentioned about Ruby Mace potentially coming into this game just to settle things down a little bit.
The Netherlands hunting a quick equaliser. It's worked short. Nice bare hand. Picked up in their first touch for Ruby Mace since coming on. Mace winning a free kick to relieve the pressure.
I also understand, you know, Lexi Lloyd-Smith coming into this game as well, kind of off the back of scoring. I think, you know, Goodwin did a really good job, but it's such a tireless role, Michael, being in that number 9, having to work the channel, having to be isolated, and I definitely think England could do a better job at getting numbers forward, but also in and around the number 9.
Sent forward by Goldie, who came through the youth system at Arsenal more recently after a loan spell, settling on a permanent move to the London City Lionesses. Shabani with the 1-2 that was a bit of a mess, has handed England possession back. Nisa Shabani at PSV, having been born in Breda and came through the PSV youth system, was one of quite a lot of this Dutch side who were reaching the under-19 Euros finals last year. And so it's kind of unsurprising that when you get a strong age group like that, they tend to burst towards that next age group a little bit quicker than in otherwise times they might. So there's quite a lot of those under-19s from last year who've already become regulars in the under-23s in this season.
But as we've seen historically, you know, with the Netherlands, it's always Ajax, FC Twente, PSV, AZ Alkmaar. I think we saw in the WSL over the years a lot of very good Dutch players have come over and done fantastically well in the league.
Throw from Colette. We didn't see much down the right in the first half compared to Simpson down the left, but Colette has got a chance to put a good cross in, and it's not a bad ball in at all. The Dutch deal with it for now. Shabani looks to roll it out. There was a little foul in there just before the ball had got towards Potter. Foul on Tolhoek, who made a bit of a nuisance of herself and did a good job of winning the free kick.
Yeah, and I think the Netherlands will be happy. Obviously, they're not happy to be 1-0 down, but I think performance-wise, when coaches are looking at this, they're thinking, you know, I'm not a big fan of stats and stuff, but I think with this game, the possession has definitely been in the Netherlands' favour. I think they've possessed the ball better. I think they've moved the ball a lot quicker than the Lionesses, and I definitely think Lauren Smith will be kind of expressing that at half-time to kind of get the ball forward better, get numbers around the ball.
Frames into Tolhoek, who is fouled by Mace. Ruby Mace, one of the better known and more experienced members of this England under-23 side. Came through at Arsenal and Manchester City, loans at Birmingham City, and part of that Leicester City side that 4 seasons back had a bit of a great escape to come through and stay up unexpectedly, and then played permanently at Leicester before joining Everton this season. Of course, now looking to establish herself more regularly as a senior Lioness, having made her senior debut. Ball clipped forward into the feet of Tolhoek, hustled out of it by Mace, who, as someone that has played a lot of her career at centre-back as well, is perfectly suited to that central defensive midfielder role. Brought down by Weefkind, but the pressure from Lloyd Smith gets England the ball back.
Yeah, it's a decent ball down the line, but it's more like a hit and hope type of ball. It's difficult because in that number 9 role I mentioned, you know, they're going to work the line here. But for Lloyd Smith, similar to Goodwin in the first half, you know, you're quite isolated when you're receiving the ball. It's difficult to know where to go.
Nice hustle from Nordman to help the Dutch win it back. Just as I say that, Mace gets it back for England. Simpson, who was a real attacking force in that first half. She's every inch the modern fullback. Loves an opportunity to overlap and get forward. Offside against Lloyd Smith.
If you notice as well, Michael, since Ruby Mace has come into the game, Lexi Potter has been able to go a little bit higher. So she's not in a double pivot. She's just in that area. She was occupying that space there. She was underneath Lloyd Smith in that moment that was going to potentially set the ball down. Yes, it was offside, but I think Lexi Potter has such a good football IQ that when she's making those types of runs, if they can find her, she can be that player because she has a fantastic weight of pass as well.
Gave a little bit of an insight into what might have been discussed between Lauren Smith and her players at the half-time break. Weefkind has managed to get it out to Frames. It's Rice Bearhan, in fact. Now Frames was open, but instead Throenevejen looked elsewhere. Tackle on Lloyd Smith. There's not a lot of space in what is a very congested midfield at the start of this second half. It feels like almost a game of hot potato. Both sides struggling to keep it for long. I wonder whether we see either team look to break that up by more switches of play, going a little bit more direct, or conversely, deciding to try any small little tactical tweaks.
I'd like to see somebody take somebody on, you know, try something. How we saw the goal come about was a fantastic ball from Simpson on the left-hand side.
Attendance 1,720. Not a bad effort at all here in Shrewsbury on what is a very cold Friday night.
Yeah, brilliant. Me and Charlie spoke about that at half-time. You know, the crowd coming out in their numbers. It really does make a difference, especially when you're playing in any game, but especially for your country. And it's great to see.
England fans certainly have had plenty to cheer, particularly that Gunning Williams early header. England trying to, again, play their way out of the high press that was pretty effective for the Netherlands, and it's very much on here. Mace is composed, finds Potter. Potter looks up and for a second shrugged her shoulders as if to say, what options have I got? But in fact, she's got it over the top to Colette, who has all sorts of possibilities. It's Megan Colette driving it across. It's headed away by Van Asten for now.
Lovely ball from Lexi Potter. Spun it into the channel of Colette. To be fair to Colette, she had a lot of time to make up her mind.
Still on for England. And it has come into the box, and it's away by Rice Berhan.
And I actually felt that Colette could have taken the ball a little bit more. She then drove the ball, it went quite high, and there's quite a lot of numbers in the box, and I was quite critical of that in the first half, regards to not many numbers in the box. And I'm seeing in this second half, Lauren Smith has definitely said to them, get some more numbers into the box. Yeah, this is the player I was talking about. It's a decent ball in, but I think in that moment you could see there, you got your players in the box, you've got to just try and pick someone out instead of just driving it into the box. England had bodies in the box there, it was good to see.
Yeah, I was going to say both crosses with 4 white shirts to look up and aim for. It goes back to what we were discussing first half. Chance for Simpson to put one into that awkward area between the defence and the keeper. She's done exactly that. And over the bar, it was a bit of an awkward height in the end for Megan Colette, who couldn't quite turn it into an effort on target, but promising signs for England.
What a delivery again from Simpson. I mean, she's got this ball on an absolute rope. It was a difficult one for Colette to get it on frame. I understand it. It was a decent opportunity. It looked like it took a bit of a deflection as well. By the time it fell to her, it looked like Tolhoek was the one that got a little touch on it, maybe put her off a little bit. A lovely ball in.
England have won it back on the high press. Erica Meg Parkinson was trying to turn it round the corner. It's run for Simpson. Simpson's cross, slightly heavy touch by Parkinson. That allowed Van Holt to come back in and win it back, but Dutch run out of room. Lovely work from Jess Simpson of Southampton, Manchester United loanee, built experience at Bristol City, and has been excellent for the Saints this season in WSL2. 4 goals and 3 assists. You can't really argue with that as a defender, and it's Simpson that has helped England get themselves a corner here.
Yeah, especially that's not what you're there to do, put the ball in the back of the net, you're there to keep it out. But if you can have a defender that knows where the goal is, just adds a little bit of extra to your lock-up.
Yeah, No She Kicks said that she is asserting herself as one of the best fullbacks in the WSL pyramid this season. Floated in, headed up but not away by Rice Berhan. Second ball, one up there by Van Koppen. Helped on by Klinger, all the way back to Chiara Keating. Keating picks out a fantastic ball for Lloyd Smith. What a bit of distribution that was. Lloyd Smith into a dangerous area. Gunning Williams sticks it on. Still there for England. Colette round the corner. Just looking for Gunning Williams, but a little interception just slows the pace.
Love that distribution from Chiara Keating. Pings it on absolute rope out to Lloyd Smith. I thought Lloyd Smith did quite well in that situation. You can see what she was trying to do, pick a player out instead of hitting just a hit and hope ball across the box. And you can see it just outside of our frame there. She's giving a little thumbs up to Chiara Keating. Chiara Keating made that ball look easy. It wasn't easy, like always 70, 80 yards on a dime.
Remember that you can watch plenty of England youth men's and women's home matches live and exclusive on the England YouTube channel this season. Click the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on the latest from the England camps, as well as plenty of socials, interviews and behind the scenes content. Colette, who's seen more of the ball already in the first 11 minutes of this second half than she did in all of the first.
Yeah, definitely. It was interesting because I felt like England in the first half were quite predominantly going down the left-hand side when they were having the ball. That's obviously something Lauren Smith has seen, maybe a fragility in this Netherlands back line to be able to get Colette on the ball a little bit more.
Sent forward by Keating, was looking for Gunning Williams in that wide channel. Colette will get there and hasn't quite kept it in. Changes coming for the Dutch. Looks like to me it is Eva Alderbrink who is ready to come on. He's a regular goal scorer right through Dutch youth levels. Unsurprising change to make with the scoreboard as it is.
Yeah, I like Elberink a lot. I've seen her play for FC Twente in the Champions League, and she's a player that you can see the Netherlands are really going for it. They're possessing the ball really well, but they're not really creating a lot of opportunities in front of goal.
They've broken the first layer of England's press very nicely there, and England have got to regroup quickly. Fraines is offering herself. The Young Lionesses have reset well, but Here come the Dutch confidently. So decent carry forward before eventually running out of room. There could have been a small foul in there. Not totally sure.
I tend to agree with you on that. I'm surprised the referee didn't give that. But on we go.
Seemed to be just a little nudge off balance and did the trick for the home side as Lloyd Smith is battling to keep it through what must feel like a wall of orange there that has done the job well for the visitors. Now here come the Netherlands, who haven't created a lot in this second half, haven't quite had the dominance of possession that they did in the first.
I think that tactical change Lauren Smith made has made a massive difference, especially Lexi Potter going a little bit higher, Ruby Mace being able to kind of cover the back line, and I think it's definitely made a difference.
Rene van Asten has got a right ankle problem here. I think it's come from that duel, that series of physical duels involving Lexi Lloyd Smith. Yeah, just there in stretching for that second one has got caught. Van Asten plays their club football with Ajax. She won the KNVB Youth Cup with Young Ajax the season before and scored her first senior goal in European Cup qualifiers last year. Captain of the under-17s. She's a key pillar in this Netherlands side. They wouldn't want to lose her. Changes coming for the Netherlands. Mita van Koppen, who has come closer than any other Dutch player to being on target tonight, takes her leave, and she's the one to make space for Eva Alder Elbrink, FC Twente forward. And it's a double change as well, because Danik Norman, who for me might have been the Dutch's best player so far tonight, also comes off, and that makes space for a bit of a rearrangement. Yet Van Buren is on as well. I would expect that this will still be in the same 4-3-3 shape, but time will tell.
Leads me to believe that obviously those substitutions were predetermined because they've been their two best players. Yes, the second half, I think England have done a really good job at nullifying the Netherlands, but I felt like Van Koppen and Nordman were their best players, so I think that's done England a little bit of a favour.
Worth remembering that this exact same, as even Colette's pace can't get her there, this exact same Dutch team was the starting 11 for a 4-0 win against Scotland on Monday in the competitive side of under-23s football, this newly created European Championship. So there probably was some element of potentially managing minutes where that might have been a preset plan.
Yeah, and these things happen when you're at youth level at your national team. You know, sometimes you can tell from training if you're going to get a look in or not. Well, that's a difficult one there for Chiara Keating. The ball bobbled just before she went to strike it.
Chance for the Netherlands to create something. It's Rice Berhan who's managed to shepherd it out for a Dutch corner.
Yeah, just a little bit lax in concentration there from the England back line. They go back. You know, Chiara Keating looked like it just bobbled just before she went to hit it long. She tried to hit it first time, which I also understand because the Netherlands were pressing pretty high.
England with defensive duties to do. Keating took that first time when she probably had the time to take the touch, but the game always looks easy from the commentary box. England have defended the corner well. Both teams just doing what you often see from a set piece, almost taking a few seconds to reset to their default shape. Nice ball in between the lines. But again, it's something that you mentioned in this first half. Playing through the first 2/3 of the pitch, the Dutch have looked excellent tonight, but they've just lacked that creativity in the final third at times. But just as I say that, having almost immediately come on, there's nearly a goal for Van Buren. And then away it goes, a frantic England clearance.
Yeah, Van Buren just needs to take a little look there to her right-hand side. Thankfully for England, she didn't, because the wide player on the right-hand side was wide open. England would create overloaded on this left-hand side for them.
Yeah, both teams have made 2 changes now, so both coaches have got plenty of flexibility up their sleeve. It will be interesting to see how both Smith of England and Amelink of the Netherlands use their benches for the rest of this one. This is within shooting range. Though just from the way things are being lined up, I think it's more likely we're going to see Frains clip one into the box. Could be Schreins with the outswinger or Van Hol with the inswinger. It's Van Hol looking for a far post runner, and there isn't one, and the Dutch are saying that that's because England were blocking them off, and the referee, Sophie Dennington's not interested.
Yeah, I tend to agree with the referee. I mean, I don't think it was the greatest of balls. It was overhit from Van Hol in that moment. England did a really good job at blocking. And you mentioned Van Hol before the game, Michael, about, you know, a player that people that watch the WSL will be familiar with. I think she's had quite a quiet night. She's a really good player, but quite a quiet night tonight in a Dutch side that have possessed the ball really well.
2 changes coming for England. Olivia McLaughlin and Mary Ward. Meg Collette makes way for Ward. Ward, who made her debut at this level against Portugal last year. It's England's 3rd change, and their 4th will follow very swiftly. McLaughlin on in place of 17-year-old Erica Meg Parkinson, who has certainly not looked out of place at under-23s level, which, given her tender age, is a compliment to her abilities.
Definitely, we spoke a lot about the big step up, depending on what age group you're at. But I like McLaughlin. I think she's a really good player, someone that has really good leadership skills, possesses the ball really well.
Ball into Lloyd Smith wasn't quite where Lloyd Smith needed it to be. McLaughlin, someone who played almost 50 games at Aston Villa, has of course since moved on, but for the age that she's at, has quite the footballing CV as a 21-year-old. Bit of time on loan at Birmingham City and then a spell at Rangers before more recently moving back into the English system with Leicester City.
Yeah, she's a really good player. I like watching her play. She's always kind of on the move. And maybe for Lauren Smith, this will be a really good change for her, because England have been better in this second half, no doubt. In the first half, I was quite critical of the fact they were giving away the ball far too easy. And I think the Netherlands just like they've run out of gas a little bit in this second half. They were so good in the first half. But I do think those tactical changes from Lauren Smith have made a big difference.
Also, there's some suspicious England fans somewhere that will be shouting at their TV or their phone after that, saying that Leanne Sanderson's inviting some trouble. But for now, that's a nice bit of pressing from Klinger, just to give Shabani not a moment's notice to think about what she might do with the ball at her feet. As the band continue to do their best to rouse England supporters, adding plenty to the atmosphere. Young and old having a good time. Gunning-Williams' goal the difference. Almost 3/4 of the game gone though, and you would expect that naturally space and time will open up in that last quarter.
It's difficult as well, because Lexi Lloyd-Smith has come on at half-time, and it's been a similar story to when Izzy Goodwin was in there. You know, the number 9 in this game, it just isn't set up for a lot of opportunities for the number 9 to really get in front of goal, or for the wide players. You know, for Klinger and Lena Gunning-Williams, they haven't really had a lot of opportunities to go 1v1, have they? Lena Gunning-Williams got her goal, she's been brilliant in this game, but hasn't really had the opportunity apart from that one time in the first half where it ran out of play when I said it was a free kick. But other than that, the Netherlands, I think, have done a really good job defensively.
Yeah, the Dutch have certainly had more of the ball. At times you sense the visitors might be a bit frustrated. They haven't quite had the purpose and precision in the final third to make the most of that, as Shabani is under pressure. And it's England's turn to be on that really high press that we've more often seen from the Dutch tonight, as Gunning-Williams behind her is urging Mary Ward forward to lead the press, but the Dutch have played their way out of it really nicely. And just as they have, Rice Bearhan with the error, she had Frains coming behind to support.
Yeah, it's been quite uncharacteristic in the second half, because I was very complimentary of the Netherlands in the first half, possessing the ball, playing through the lines. Wasn't great in the final third, but they looked like the better side. And I think in the second half, England have done really well, because these games are quite difficult sometimes. When you expect, I don't think England expected the Netherlands to be pressing so high. And because they were pressing so high in the first half, that's why you run out of gas, you know, in the second half. The fact they had an unchanged side from Monday night, that's a big ask, Michael. You know, coming into this game 4 days later with the same personnel in a high intense game.
Gunning-Williams with a clever touch inside, and that opens things up nicely for England. Mace looked at the switch, now does get it out wide. Mace was wanting to get there on the overlap. Yeah, it's difficult to sustain that high pressing game, and you read my mind, because the next thing I was about to say is that ultimately 19 of the 22 starters across both of these teams started a game on Monday night, and even more so for the Netherlands, playing away in Scotland on Monday night. You know, I know it's small advantages, but England played on Monday lunchtime in France, and then England have home advantage tonight, whereas the Dutch are on the road again.
I love the fact that the band are playing the trumpet and every single instrument you can think of, and they've had their light up in the air with their phone, and now it's kind of gone throughout the fans, and they're having a little bit of a light show. It's great.
They've started a trend.
Look at that.
Caught on.
That's some skill, that is.
Not only leading the band, but leading the choreography of the crowd as well. You can't ask for much more than that. Great ball around the corner from Frains, and this opens up possibilities. Tolhoek gets it away, playing advantage for the foul on her. Rice Berhan gets it across, and Keating has to make a good save to deny Eva Elbrink, who was sneaking in for a poacher's finish at the back post. That's the best constructed move we've seen from either team in this second half.
Yeah, that's exactly what I like about Elbrink. She'll stay in those areas centrally. Some number 9s have a tendency to come outside the box. It was a lovely ball in. Chiara Keating pulls off another really good save on her front post. Most people turn around and say, well, it's on her front post. She's expected to save. She had to make herself nice and big. Lovely strong hand to parry it out for a corner.
Now, the Dutch have gone short a couple of times tonight, so England have now really cottoned on to that, and England have got 2 there for it, but still, the visitors do look to go short, and that time it has not worked at all. It's fair to say that play was read by England a million miles off.
Yeah, well done, McLaughlin, as well, because you mentioned, Michael, about them going short a number of times and England not really reading it. I think they did a really good job there. And sometimes these types of games, like, it hasn't been the best performance from England, but they're still 1-0 up. And sometimes it's a matter of seeing out the game. You know, they had a really good performance on Monday night. See this one out, have a professional performance.
5th change of the night coming for England. Chloe Sawi, 17-year-old fullback, one of the youngest, in fact, the youngest in the squad. She's already been on the bench for Chelsea in the Champions League and the WSL after coming through the academy there, and has made 4 sub-appearances. Was in the side on Monday for England in the starting 11 that got a clean sheet and a win in France. Injects some fresh pace and skill down that left flank, which, of course, on a wider narrative is a problem position potentially for England at senior level. So I know a lot of people, particularly those of a Chelsea persuasion, are very excited about the future of Chloe Sawi for both club and country there. Speaking of exciting futures, here comes Lena Gunning-Williams. She's got options left and right. Tries to go herself. Needs a well-timed sliding challenge from Groenewegen to stop her. And then Tolhoek linking the play magnificently, fighting through a couple of challenges. Stepping up, though, is Goldie to win it. And suddenly it's Taya Goldie, centre-back, playing centre-forward. She's got it away to Lloyd Smith. Brave block in the nick of time from Renee van Asten. Frantic, almost basketball-esque end-to-end passage of play. Game that has been very fast in transition.
That was really good play from England, and I like the fact there that Goldie actually stayed higher up and won the ball back. And now England have the ball back, and she's obviously going to have to get back into position. I mentioned about Lena Gunning-Williams not really having many opportunities to go 1v1. Groenewegen did a really good job there to be able to defend it. You mentioned this young player, Chloe Sawi. A lot of people talk about her, especially someone like myself. I love her. I think she's got such a bright future ahead. A really good head on her shoulders as well, and you have to have that as well, Michael. I keep beating that same drum, but you do. You have to have, like, not just ability, but, you know, you saw when she stepped on the pitch for Chelsea this year, especially in the Champions League, when she was like 16 years old, she didn't look out of place.
And here is Sawi. Skipping past one. Slightly heavy touch, but she was being fouled anyway by Elbrink.
And she can also play anywhere, genuinely, like anywhere in the back line. She can play in the attack. You know, and I do think England, obviously, we spoke a lot about that left-back position and kind of the next generation of players. And I think, you know, she's definitely one for the future.
Yeah, I know there was a time in the Chelsea academy where across a 10-game stretch, she played in pretty much every outfield position, which is a handy skill to develop when you're young, give yourself different ways to get in the team. Here's Gunning-Williams. Great ball in from Gunning-Williams, and it's almost an own goal. Lovely save from Rohina van Eyck. Just tipping it over the bar. Otherwise, it was almost 2-0 England.
That was a lovely ball in from Lena Gunning-Williams. Really good play from this right-hand side. Purposeful ball. It was that good that it was almost an own goal because the defender is facing Take another look here. Love this play. We're seeing Lena Gunning-Williams getting a lot of the ball in the last 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, defender's nightmare across like that.
Yeah, low, hard.
In comes the resulting corner, which is nodded back across goal. And it's an orange shirt in the form of Van Hol that gets there first to deal with it. Kept in play by Klinger, or maybe not. Well, that would have been a real nerve settler for England. As it is, still plenty of time for the Dutch to get on terms. In the last 10 minutes or so, England have looked to press the Dutch higher than they have at any other point in the game. We saw that again there. The Netherlands have played their way out once, and that's forced England back a little. Veefkind trains. Instead, it's Rijsbergen, who's been caught out by Ward, who's got plenty of fresh energy having just come on. McLaughlin tackled, though. Groenewegen. Van Hol. Pass crossfield. Was really driven hard, and that made it quite an awkward job to bring it down and get it under control. Sawi in there fighting for it, as is Lloyd Smith. Liga Alder Elbrink ends up on the floor, and referee just says Netherlands throw.
It was actually the first time we've actually seen Van Hol being able to switch the point of attack. By the time the ball fell to the right-hand side, couldn't quite get it down. But definitely that's something they'll be looking to do is next 15 minutes, switch the point of attack, create a little bit more in front of goal. I mean, they have taken off, like I said, their two best players for me in Van Koppen and Noordman. But I do think the Netherlands, you know, it is still only 1-0.
Yeah, and I think even the most passionate England fan would not really disagree that on the balance of play it's been a pretty even game. Now we've got one of these where somehow Rohina van Eyck, despite no one being in the same postcode as her, has gone down injured. I think it's we all know what is likely to happen. Van Eyck will make a recovery, and the Netherlands have used this as an opportunity to have something of a timeout with 15 minutes to go to reset and find their way back into the game. I mean,
it's so hard, Michael, right? Because there will come a time where a goalkeeper will actually have a legitimate injury, and, you know, but at the same time, the tactics board was already out. Like, none of her teammates have gone to check on her, and this has been the story. It's been in the women's game for a couple of years now, and people have only started to realise in the last few months that it started to happen. But I don't like it. You know, it's not something we want to see. It's almost like a tactical timeout. It's not basketball. You know, it's not NBA. Like, and it just disrupts the flow of the game. If you need to get information on to your team, you have to find a way. This can't be the way, but I don't know how you eradicate it, really, because you can't then turn around and say, we know she's not injured, let's be honest, but you can't then really speculate that. Yeah,
there's a certain manager who I won't name a few years ago who came out in a couple of press conferences and called it out, but there was something of a bit of irony about the fact that that particular English manager was known for having occasional goalkeeper injuries in midway points in halves as well. But as it is, Rohina van Eyck is fine, and
maybe the solution is the goalkeeper they changed the rule, the goalkeeper has to go off and the centre-back has to go and goal. I think we'll see a lot less goalkeepers going down.
Yeah, I think
that's my solution to the problem, in jest to a certain degree.
Of course. One wonders whether what that moves to is a player getting an injury on the halfway line right by the coaches' dugouts. It's a Netherlands free kick after that delay, and it's come all the way through to the back post that Veefkind is waiting for. And she hooks it back into a dangerous area. England just can't quite get it clear. Eventually Gunning-Williams, just almost like a fly half behind their own try line in a game of rugby, just decides to stick boot to ball. Doing her best impression of Emily Scarrett. Now Veefkind. Still plenty of time for the Netherlands to work their way back into this. If it would end up being 1-1, that would match the result when these sides last met. Laura Blinkiller-Brown scoring for England in October 2024. That game in the Netherlands, and Fenna Kalmer popped up with an equaliser in the 4th minute of stoppage time. So England will hope their hearts aren't going to be broken like that again, because it was actually the second time it had happened that year. In February 2024, Kalmer equalised in the 97th minute to make it 1-1. So England will hope that's a bit of history that can stay as 2 from 2. Too much on it for Lloyd Smith. Van Asten sent it forward. It's been a real fight for the ball in that midfield area, particularly in this second half. Neither side's really had control or dominance of it.
Yeah, it's definitely been a battle and it's been a scrap. And like I said, sometimes, you know, these types of games, it's a matter of just getting out of here with the result. I definitely think England have been better.
Sawi's been caught in possession. And there was a shooting chance there for a second from Rice Bearhan, who was distracted by the defender. Then it's sent forward by Frains. Well worked for the chance to strike. And then it's come for Tolhoek. Still there for Tolhoek again. England just can't get out. And a save from Keating eventually to deny this Rice Bearhan. England survived.
Yeah, England got quite fortunate there because I thought the Netherlands shifted it quite well, but by the time we got to Rice Bearhan, you know, couldn't quite get. It was good height for Kiara Keating, a good save. We know how good Kiara Keating is at shot stopping, but really England were let off the hook there a little bit. And I spoke about that, Michael. I think England have been better in the second half, no doubt, but the Netherlands, it is still only 1-0.
Great switch of the play to find Gunning-Williams, who Scott Ward enthusiastically thinking of overlapping.
You mentioned there before about Laura Blinkhill-Brown, and you know, we speak about that pathway, the fact that she started, you know, the other day against Ukraine. I think it just gives a little bit of extra incentive for these under-23 players that Sarina Wiegman will select you, will pick you if you're performing.
Again, Michelle Adjemang, another who has played in this under-20s European competition in the last couple of seasons. Third change of the night coming for the Netherlands. Will be wearing 22. Jada van Hensbergen, who comes on. And surprisingly, another player who is more inclined to offer in a forward-thinking sense as Netherlands chase an equaliser. Plays for Ajax and made a debut at under-23s level on Monday, coming on as a sub against Scotland. Part of the Young Ajax development team mainly at the moment, but seen as a future first teamer, has already made 11 senior appearances, most of those as a substitute. England with a player down. It's not a head injury, so the Netherlands are well within their rights to continue. And it's back to her feet a little gingerly on that far side. It's Klinger who was down.
Considering there's been a lot of substitutions in this second half, I feel like it hasn't really disrupted the play that much. I still think the tempo has been there. Sometimes it's been a bit like, you know, table tennis in and around the midfield because it's been going over the players' heads and a bit of a pinball. But I do think the intensity of this game has been there the entire game, and it's the 80th minute now.
I think pinball is a great word for what that middle third has been like in this second half in particular. That's a lovely ball in behind for Van Byron. The pullback is good and the shot is scuffed from Tolhoek. Well, Keating should have been tested a bit more there than she was eventually.
Yeah, Tolhoek should have scored there. It was a gift. It was really good play down the right-hand side. Lovely little pullback. Tolhoek has to do better in that situation.
Ward driving forward. Doesn't need a second invite to the party, but ultimately it ends up back with the visitors.
I like, even though that ball got cut out from Ward, I like the fact she was trying to play Lloyd Smith in that moment, because I don't think we've seen that enough, you know, where they're trying to play through the lines. Obviously, Lauren Smith set them up in a way today that to me, it looks like they're focusing a lot on distributing the ball from the back line and not really set up for the midfield. So maybe these are the types of things, you know, they're looking to kind of gain yardage on because they play them, again, relatively soon, and they don't want to give too much away.
Groenewegen goes out wide. Gets the 1-2. And then gets it back again. Lovely playmaking from Groenewegen. Dutch building nicely. Frains. England really being forced to work very hard out of possession. Flipped forward, and Keating comes out and doesn't quite get there, but the offside flag means that it wouldn't have mattered regardless. Of course, at senior level, England in action tomorrow at the City Ground at home against Iceland, and then it's Spain at home at Wembley on the 14th of April. That would be a great game between two of the giants of women's football. Of course, a World Cup 2023 final rematch, amongst other things.
Yeah, that's the one I think a lot of people are focusing on, but I think Sarina Wiegman and her team, you know, talking about taking care of business at the weekend, at Nottingham Forest against Iceland. So that'll be a difficult game, but obviously as fans and everybody, we're focusing on the Spain game.
Jessie Gale comes on for England, 18-year-old, called in to replace Mia Enderby. This is the first England squad she's been in. She got her debut against France on the Monday. She's at Bristol City on loan from Arsenal. Spent the first half of the season on loan at Portsmouth and scored 3 goals there, seen as a bit of a rising star. Dutch on the high press, as they've got to be at this stage with the scoreboard as it is, and it works. It forces the error. Van Holt finds Rijsbergen. There was space for Frains, who dilly-dallied, and actually McLaughlin's taken it off her and sent it forward, and Van Eyck has come a long way out and hasn't got there. The Netherlands in all sorts of trouble. Gale's cross, it needs a finish, but there is Emma Frains to rescue the Netherlands.
Lovely ball from McLaughlin, and to be fair to Gale, it was so honest from her, because keepers come flying out there, definitely made contact, makes contact, that's a foul all day long, and the keeper goes. Really good play, and I spoke about the fact that, you know, we haven't really seen England play these types of balls. Lovely play. Brilliant honesty from Gale, because I do think she could have gone down in that moment.
Well, she actually moves to evade the contact, because what's on Gale's mind is trying to score, and then she realises she's gone too wide. She's got to instead cross it. Corner in. Plenty of bodies in that 6-yard box. Away by Van Asten. And then hammered wide on the follow-up. Still plenty of time for the Netherlands to make it 3 consecutive 1-1 draws with England from heartbreaking late equalisers for the Lionesses. Frains runs into Gunning Williams. Ward inside, Mace. Eventually manages to find a white shirt. Saw plenty of orange runs in all directions. First touch for Van Hensbergen having just come on. Space for Lloyd Smith to roam in behind. Just stops and takes a moment. Lovely roll back for Potter.
It was a great ball from Goldie to be able to play, you know, switch the point of attack.
Goldie finds Lloyd Smith again, but Lloyd Smith has come back for an offside position.
It was difficult for Lloyd Smith in that moment, because I tend to agree with her. She was asking for the ball because Lexi Potter took her touch backwards, which I understand are trying to kind of possess the ball, see the game out. But Lloyd Smith had already made that run, and by the time the secondary ball came, she was offside. There's not really much she can do there.
Vika Kruse ready to come on for the Netherlands' 4th change of the night. Will she come on with the score already 1-1? Byron. Keating's missed it. Chance to put it in. And Rijsbergen couldn't quite do so. And then hooked away. It's been a head collision involving Keating. Will need treatment. Hopefully not quite as serious as this looks. Tolhoek was innocently just trying to score, but Keating put her head where it hurts and looks in some trouble.
Yeah, hopefully Chiara Keating and the Dutch player will be okay. It was interesting because Rijsbergen actually picked up a yellow card there, appealing to the referee, and I tend to agree with her a little bit, because to me it looked like it was handball and they're appealing for a penalty. That's what it looked like to me. Apart from all the melee that was going on, it looked like there could have been a contact with the hand.
Yeah, it was a proper game of penalty box pinball, and the Dutch players were playing on trying to score whilst also appealing for a possible penalty.
I mean, I've seen them given, Mike. I've seen them given all day long, to be fair. Is this going in the goal as well? You know, I think that's a penalty. It would have been harsh, but at the end of the day, we've seen them given, and that's the rule, whether we like it or not.
It's that upper right arm of Mary Ward, and it was clearly a shot on target. That is beyond doubt.
Yeah.
And just to add insult to injury for the Netherlands, Danique Tolhoek is in some serious discomfort, the Ajax striker, who has got 28 goals in 49 Eredivisie games. She's a serious young force for the Netherlands coming through. has attracted interest from both WSL and Spanish teams in recent times, but for now remains with Ajax. And after all of that, the Netherlands are back to 11 because Tolhoek's gone off, and Fika Kruse, who was going to come on anyway, is coming on in place of Tolhoek. England just trying to see this one out for what would be a big week. A pair of 1-0 wins against two of Europe's top nations would go down very nicely for Lauren Smith in a time in interim charge for now. We won't have a lot of stoppage time as well, because in both halves tonight there's been plenty of ball in play time.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of has been a number of substitutions. So,
Yeah,
but you're right, Michael. I think it's been a really good game to see the ball in play so much. I mean, the players' fitness levels are through the roof, because I felt like this game would lay out a little bit. You know, I said usually you can see in the first 10-15 minutes the game will start to lay out, but I think it's been really contested. Considering these players played on Monday night, it doesn't look like that.
Yeah, the tempo and intensity is not dropped at all. Mace has certainly done her bit to add to that since coming on. She's been tidy, and she is so again there. You can see the orange shirt streaming forward though. It's often such is the level of this high press from the Netherlands now. More orange shirts in shot than there are white ones, even when England had possession, and it's worked. Here's France. Flips one forward, looking for Elbrink. Too much on it though, and the Dutch quickly running out of time. They'll probably get maybe 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, and I think, you know, thankfully for England, I think the Netherlands haven't been as good in the second half as they were in the first. I thought they outplayed England, possessed the ball. And like I said, sometimes, you know, you have things that you're working on for these types of fixtures. For Lauren Smith, it looked like they were working on the defensive patterns of what they're trying to do. I do think they've been better in the second half, and I'm delighted for Lena Gunning-Williams, you know, first start, especially back at the stadium, she made her debut, had to actually score here, like early on. When we see an early goal like that, you expect the game to have a little bit more goals amongst it. But yeah, it's been eagerly contested, and I think overall, really good game.
Kruse, with her first touches since coming on, drives in a really good ball, and it just didn't quite have the back post runner that it needed.
That was a ball from Kruse. I was thinking it was going to drop there to Tolhoek, but thankfully for England it didn't. But it was a lovely ball, lovely ball.
We had the perfect angle on that from our commentary box on the halfway line of just looking at what Kruse was thinking. You could see she just wanted someone gambling in on that back stick.
Yeah, it was a lovely ball. You can see there, purposeful. You can see exactly what she was trying to do.
Can England see this one out? Would be a big confidence boost going into a semi-final against these very opponents in April. Still plenty of work to do. 5 minutes added on, 6 minutes. Leanne Sanderson giving me a look of gentle surprise, shall we say.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about the way the ball's been in play. I know Chiara Keating went down in that moment, and the Dutch player as well, but I'm quite surprised at that.
So even more time than they might have thought for the Netherlands to find one back. Could be the in-swinger from Rosa van Hol. Van Hol will in fact leave it. Towards that back post, maybe slightly overhit, and now Lexi Lloyd-Smith is eyeing the break. White shirt streaming forward. England desperate to finish it here. Calm under pressure from Frains, who sets the Netherlands back going forward. Interception from Mace. Forward back to Keating, who will have plenty of orange company up there. Sawi gets past one. Eventually a good recovery challenge from Van Hensbergen. But England will take that and enjoy it whittling away the clock a bit as well.
Yeah, good play from Chloe Surrey, nice and purposeful. It looked like the ball got away from her in that moment, but she's so tenacious, you know, relentlessly not giving it up. They can work the line now.
Nice turn in there, and that will be a foul. Just what England would have wanted. Lexi Lloyd-Smith buying the free kick and a yellow card to boot as well.
exactly what you need from your centre forward in this moment when you're seeing out the game. Really good run from Lexi Lloyd-Smith in that moment. Exactly what you need from your number 9.
Now, England have only got 2 in the box right now. I wonder whether there's a little mini conference going on here about whether they're going to put the ball in the box at all, whether they'll head for the corner. It's currently, when you look in and around the penalty spot, it's Leonard Gunning-Williams in 6 orange shirts, which would suggest not, but we shall see.
I mean, it's interesting because I don't even think they need to go to the corner flag. They can just play Lexi Potter in this moment. Obviously, it looks like they're going to keep it over there, but like Lexi Potter's wide open, McLaughlin's wide open centrally, in the Netherlands are just zonal marking with no one else to pick up, really.
England do head for the corner. And a bevy of bodies start a bit of a mini wrestling match in there. Final touch comes off the substitute Sawi. The Dutch have still got a couple of minutes to break England hearts with a late equaliser. Remember as well, the senior Lionesses in action tomorrow as they continue their League 8 Group 3 Nations League campaign, fighting for that all-important top spot. Building towards the 2027 World Cup. Great crossing, could be 2-0, probably should have been 2-0. Lovely ball in from Mace, and Jessie Gale could only put it straight at Rohina van Eyck.
Lovely ball from Ruby Mace. I mean, Gale only had to get any type of touch on the ball. It could have been a shin, could have been a knee, could have been a touch. I don't actually think she makes any contact on the ball, but it was a lovely ball in from Ruby Mace.
Sent back from whence it came by England. And Van Eyck has it once more. Clock truly the enemy of the Dutch now. Lovely guided ball round the corner from Elbrink, but that's overhit. Couple of minutes or so, we reckon, for England to hold out. Not the best bit of distribution from Keating. I don't think she was looking for Sawi, who took that under quite a bit of pressure.
No, it's not been the greatest of performances from England, but 2 games this week against really strong opposition in France and the Netherlands. Lauren Smith, 2 games, 2 wins, it looks like. You know, still a minute and a half or so to go, but like, can't ask for more than that. Ultimately, you want to have 3 points plus a fantastic performance, but at the same time, a win's a win at the end of the day.
Yeah, she's taking the under-23s in this window while the recruitment process for the permanent successor to Emma Coates is ongoing. Well, Smith is certainly doing her best to state her case for that. As things stand, she will lead the under-20s at their World Cup in September. Lloyd-Smith wanted it, but didn't get there off the boot of Potter. And that's a slight foul from Potter. Well, the scoreboard in the ground is about 40 seconds or so behind the scoreboard on your screens, but regardless, this is last chance saloon for the Netherlands. If it's going to happen, it's got to happen now. Forward by Rohina van Eyck. And nodded down, big opportunity, and it's in! The Netherlands have snuck a late equaliser! The Dutch have done it for a 3rd time in a row against England. They've scored in stoppage time to get themselves a 1-1 draw. Direct ball forward, and the finish to match as well from Rosa van Hol, the skipper. 1-1. Silence and frustration from the England fans here, who can't believe it.
Wow, you can see the disappointment on Lauren Smith's face. You did mention, Mike, it was a last chance saloon. The ball in. I mean, it was actually Elberink that put it in the back of the net. It's some finish, you know, but the marking for England, like, you have to stay switched on, for, as you see, not just 90 minutes, but 90 plus minutes. And, you know, I feel like the Netherlands probably do deserve that based upon their first half performance. And you mentioned it, you know, this has been the scoreline the last few games.
Well, it reflects how even these two are. Eva Alder-Elbrink, the poacher supreme. And it's Eva Alder-Elbrink who is the reason why it's not quite a perfect week for England. 2 games, 2 wins and 2 clean sheets is what it could have been, and what England might feel like it should have been. But as it is, the Netherlands get themselves a deserved late equaliser, and it means that this friendly ends in a draw, setting it up tantalisingly for when these sides meet at the semi-final stage of the women's under-23s European competition in April in Spain. England led early on thanks to Lena Gunning-Williams scoring on her first start at this level after a brilliant cross by Jess Simpson. But right with pretty much the last kick of the game, Eva Alder-Elbrink, the FC Twente forward, was in the right place at the right time and produced a poacher's finish to grab the Netherlands a point and break English hearts. It will be intriguing to see quite what we get when these two meet in the Final Four next month. It was a game where the Netherlands had more possession, but England certainly offered a consistent threat on the counter-attack, with Lena Gunning-Williams' header undoubtedly the high point of the night for the home team. Remember that the Lionesses are in action tomorrow against Iceland at the City Ground. And then there's that tantalising home game against Spain at Wembley on the 14th of April, a little further into the horizon at senior level. And there's plenty of these players who you can expect to see a lot more of at senior Lionesses level in the next few years. Chiara Keating made a fantastic save in the first half to deny Mirza van Koppen. And Keating made a couple of other decent saves in the process of that too. Plenty of positives for both teams to take. You know, really intriguing arm wrestle of a game, and a really good week for Lauren Smith as England interim under-23s head coach. She's certainly done her best to give a pretty decent addition if she is to end up taking on this job in a more permanent role after Emma Coates left for the NWSL side Bay FC in December of last year. England with a 1-0 win on Monday lunchtime in France at Clairefontaine, and then a 1-1 draw today in front of more than 1,700 on a cold Friday night in Shrewsbury. I'm sure Smith, with the calm and composure that you would expect from her, will be emphasising, regardless of that late equaliser, the positives of that performance, and to pick apart all the different tactical aspects of it and give you plenty of post-match reaction. We'll go now and to Vishali, who's been joined by Leanne pitch side.
Thank you so much, Michael. Yes, I mean, Leanne, what a sucker punch for England right at the death, in the dying seconds of the game. To concede that goal, I mean, they must be feeling pretty deflated now.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the same scoreline the last few games they played against the Netherlands. I was thinking about Elbrink during the game because I've seen her play a lot for FC Twente. She's a really good player. But England just switched off. You know, but overall, I do think the Netherlands deserve something out of the game. You know, putting my biases aside that I want the Lionesses to win, I think, you know, the Netherlands in the first half were the better side. And I think the substitutions for both teams, I don't think it disrupted the play at all. I felt like it almost enhanced. You know, I said the ball, like, intensity of the game from start to end. Usually, you know, tendency for games to kind of flatten out a little bit and the sting out the game. But the entire game, I thought both sides were going at it. And I thought overall it was a really, really good game. But definitely, like, they will feel really disappointed, but they should be really proud. Like Lena Gunning-Williams, first start, you know, getting a goal early on like she did, like, it's brilliant. But they will feel a little bit like, this will feel like a little bit like a loss because of the way you concede in the 96th minute. But lessons will be learned, because in international football, you cannot switch off at any given moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was an international friendly, but it wasn't played like a friendly.
No.
It was really competitive.
It was, and like for both sides, I mentioned the Lionesses will feel like they've lost that game, and they haven't. The Netherlands will feel like they won the game because they've come here and they've done really well. I was really impressed by the Netherlands tonight. I thought they were very, very good, possessing the ball, playing through the lines, and like I said, it's been a good week for the Lionesses. You know, beating France 1-0. And then they'll feel disappointed about this result, but it's still a good result. I mean, Lauren Smith's only had 2 games in charge. So, you know, they have a DNA of what they're trying to do, but for her to be able to implement her game plan, you know, especially just playing on Monday against another top side, you know, I think overall it was the right result.
And in terms of the positives, you obviously mentioned Lena Gunning-Williams with that goal for England in the 11th minute, a header from Jess Simpson's cross. I mean, you mentioned it was her first start for the under-23, so a big plus for her in terms of her performance.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I think for Simpson as well, like, the ball was fantastic down the left-hand side, like, delivering on the run. It's not an easy technique to do. And then Lena Gunning-Williams getting her opportunity to start. We saw before the game in the interview you did, she was so excited, wasn't she? Also nervous, but that's what it's like when you play for your country. Like I said, I was nervous for every single game. So overall, I'm delighted for Lena Gunning-Williams. The goal, we take another look at it here. Look at this ball. I could watch this all day long. What a finish, what a strike this was as well. Lovely header, you know, in and off the post. Like I said, I wasn't blessed ever in the air. So, and I love the celebration, and that's what it's all about. You know, your family's here when you represent your country. I remember when I sang the national anthem every single time. It's like the biggest honour, not only to play for your country, but when you score, you know, it's not easy to score at international level. And Lena Gunning-Williams has done it on her first start after not playing a lot of minutes for Tottenham.
Yeah, absolutely, and so early on in the game, which obviously gave England that boost in front of the fans. Well, I'm pleased to say that we are joined now by, or we will soon be joined by Jess Simpson, who we can bring in.
Hello,
Jess.
you all right? Nice to meet you. I'm Leanne, you all right?
Jess, great to meet you. I would shake your hand, but I'm kind of got them busy at the moment. But Jess, look, we were just talking about Lena's goal. The opener in the 11th minute, the only goal for England tonight, and you set it up brilliantly. I mean, what was that moment like for you?
Yeah, it was a good moment. I knew Lena would be at the back post, and I just thought if I just get it in that right area, then hopefully someone can connect on it, and she did, and I'm very proud of her, and she's had a really good game. So.
What was it like coming up against another strong opposition? It's quite unique. You played on Monday night against France, got a fantastic result, and then coming up against a really good Netherlands side. What was the players feeling like before the game?
Yeah, I was excited. It's good exposure for us to play against two top nations, and it gives us a taste of what it's going to be like in the semi-finals against them. So yeah, it's a really tough result to take, but I think I'm proud of the girls for this week, and yeah, we just build now on it, and hopefully we can smash them when we play in the semi-finals.
Love that, smash them, definitely.
I mean, what has it been like working under Lauren Smith this week?
Yeah, she's lovely. She's come into this camp and done a really good job, I think. All the girls have really looked up to her, and it's not hard. It's really hard to come into a team and play two very tough oppositions. So yeah, credit to her, and I hope she has the best rest of the season.
What was the messages like in that huddle? Because I know after a game like that, you're ahead for such a long period of time, and then you concede late on off of a set piece. Like, what was the key messages from Lauren and your staff?
Yeah, I think just, again, tough result, but to take the positives out of it. And, yeah, once again, we've had a really good camp, so just take the positives and we go again. And, yeah, things like this are going to happen, but we just learn now and, yeah, learn from it, and hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned you played the Netherlands next month in a European competition, the semi-finals. So I guess you've got plenty to now take away from this game going into a key competitive fixture.
Yeah, definitely, and the girls will be up for it as well, so... hopefully we can take all the learnings from today and absolutely smash them next.
What was it like against the Netherlands? Because they caught me off guard a little bit. It was quite an intense game, wasn't it? And they were pressing quite high. Did that catch you guys off guard a little bit?
Well, we came into this game wanting to play how we play, and we knew they were going to be aggressive, physical, and it showed today, like, the physicality of it. It was tough, but I thought we matched up quite well.
And look, this is your first home game of 2026. In the second half, we saw the fans with their phones and their lights on. It was a really nice atmosphere. I mean, what did you make of it? Yeah,
it's always nice to have a load of fans come, and this is the 12th woman, so it's really lovely, and we hope to get as many fans as we can when we play these home fixtures. We're grateful for every single one of them. So.
Yeah, and there's some players taking some selfies with the fans, so I'm sure they're going to be asking for a selfie with you shortly as well. But how much have you enjoyed it?
I've loved it. I always love coming on camp, and the girls are amazing, so it's really nice, really.
Well, Jess, congratulations on this. I know it didn't end in terms of the result, but look, we look forward to seeing you guys against the Netherlands next month. Good luck with that.
Great assist. Nice one, mate. See you later. Thank you.
So that was Jess Simpson, who of course got the assist for Lena Gunning-Williams' goal. Now look, you can tell from her, look, they're going to be even more motivated from this game when they do take on the Netherlands next month. So this is work then, hasn't it, in terms of a friendly?
Yeah, I mean, I like to win, right? We all do. But it's still positives to take. I don't like it when it sounds cliche when people say, oh, there's positives to take, because they'll feel a bit deflated. But, like, these players are still so young. They've got a lot. Like, Chloe Sari's come into this game, 17 years old. Playing in the under-23s, Lexi Potter, like, they've got an array of experience in this team, plus a lot of players that are making their first starts for this team. And, like, this is what it's all about. The fans have come out in the numbers, I think 1,500 more or less.
Yeah,
like,
I think
incredible.
Yeah, I think 1,720 to be precise.
I mean, come on, that's amazing, especially for like a Friday night. It's very cold as well. As much as I'm not in a jacket, it's absolutely freezing.
You're doing really well with that jacket.
Thank
by
you.
the way.
But like, yeah, I mean, and these players, signing autographs, that is what it's all about. Like, these people have come out, and it doesn't mean you come to a game you're guaranteed you're going to meet the players. But this is what it's all about, is inspiring the next generation, inspiring these young girls, and honestly, long may it continue.
Absolutely. One player who's been back with the under-23s is Kiara Keating. We saw her make so many key saves in this game, didn't we?
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, it was a bit of an indifferent night because there were moments where, and some things that she did in this game, this is the save for me. Look at this save. I mean, it's fantastic. But like, there's moments, because Kiara's not been playing for Manchester City, yes, you train. Michael touched upon it in commentary. Like, you train every single day, but you can never recreate moments. And that's another great save. Fantastic hand. She got to it there in that moment. You know, she was part of a lot of different things going on. I think defensively in the second half, you know, that one you'd expect her to save. It was at a decent height for her in that moment. But I think she was part of a lot in this game. And she'd have loads to do. But when she did what's called upon, apart from that one moment in the first half where she looked like she could have come for it and then she kind of let it go out for a corner, other than that, I thought she was brilliant. And for a player that will feel disappointed to not be playing as much for Manchester City this year, but Yamashita's been excellent. But at the same time, she stepped up tonight and she did well for the Lionesses.
Yeah, a slight scare late on, though, when she went down and we thought she was injured.
Yeah.
So, but she got back up.
She got straight back up because she has that, you know, that fire. But I think England were also quite lucky. We don't have VAR here, but I actually thought it was a penalty shout, to be fair to the Netherlands. And the Dutch player actually got booked for it. But I actually thought it looked like it hit her hand. But thankfully, for England, they never gave it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it has ended 1-1. You've probably seen in the background Lauren Smith making her way to us pitch side. And we are really excited to hear what she thinks of the performance. So we'll bring her in straight away. Lauren,
no, you're right.
Really good to speak with you. Look, it's ended 1-1. What do you make of the performance and the end result?
It was a tough game. You know, they matched us. They actually brought the energy at the first half, I thought. Second half, we fixed a few of the issues that were killing us in midfield. So I thought that the players actually managed to get themselves back into the game, which sounds weird because we were 1-0 up. So overall, I think what happened throughout the game is we learned a lot of lessons about Netherlands and ourselves, about how we should go forward from that point. But it's hard not to forget about the end. But I actually think that the performance that they built into was one that they could be proud of.
I wanted to ask you about a tactical change you made at half-time, because I was on commentary and I was talking about Ruby Mace coming into the game. I thought she made a massive difference. Lexi Potter was able to go a little bit higher. Was that something, because you were giving away the ball far too easy in the back line, weren't you? It was kind of breaking down before it got to the front.
Yeah, and part of it was about us being able to stretch a little bit more and open up the pockets. So getting Lexi Lloyd-Smith on was really important, to just hold up the ball a little bit longer, which made them drop off. That got the midfield on the ball a little bit better. But the main message at half-time around that was we were giving them too much of the ball and too much credit, and we were just playing into the trap rather than playing one pass more or one pass further away. So, yeah, I think that was something they didn't recognise at the time, because the press from the Netherlands was just putting us under too much pressure. We didn't have time to think.
I wanted to ask you about that, because I was really like taken back at their high press, and I said normally in games they kind of balance out, don't they, 10-15 minutes and it settles down, but this one didn't settle down. Did that catch you by surprise, the Netherlands, in their high press?
Yeah, because everything we've seen of them, the 9 kind of jumps out, but they leave the rest of their team behind, but they were pressing it. At times they were swarming us with 3-4 players. So yeah, you can definitely see that they had a taste of coming to really put us under pressure today, and it worked for them to start with. But the brilliant thing is about these teams and England teams that we work with is you can go press us high and then we can hurt you in behind, and we did that early, which really helped, and we needed that.
I mean, Lauren, you spoke about the message at half-time. What would you say to your players after this game?
After the game?
Yeah, what will you say to them in the dressing room when you do go back?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here is they'll feel really gutted about the very end kick of the game, and that's, they can't forget about the 90 minutes that got them there. They developed and learned throughout the game, but there's still a huge learning there. We could have kept it, one pass more and we'd have been in the corner and we'd have managed the game, and that's the stuff that in development football, which this still is, that gets them to the next level, when you can see out a game when you really need to. So there's a lesson in it, and because sometimes the ones that hurt are the best lessons anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
that would be the message.
I mean, Lauren, we're really glad to still see you smiling after the way the game ended, but it was a good performance. It's been a great week, I imagine, for you, so thanks so much, and best of luck for what's coming next.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you later.
So Lauren Smith, there was a big smile on her face despite that late equaliser by the Netherlands. Yeah, it must feel like a crazy week for her. 2 big games against France and the Netherlands, and 2 good results overall.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because when you draw a game in that way, you can see there's a frustration and there's an element of deflation, but then you'd still feel an element of pride. So it is difficult with regards to that, and you can see it on her face as the interview went on. You know, we're all ex-players, you know, managers, so you want to win every game you're involved in. But like she said, and I said it before, they'll learn from this. They're young players, you know, like mistakes happen. You switch off for 1 second, you think you got the game wrapped up 1-0 with 30 seconds to go, and look what happened. Elbrink put it in the back of the net. So I think overall, fair result.
Yeah, absolutely. Leanne, thanks so much for your
happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you very much. Look, we've thoroughly enjoyed ourselves tonight. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage too. We can't wait to watch the England under-23s in action next month when they take on the Netherlands. Let's hope for a different result next time around. Good night.
Nice one. See you.